Okay, folks, here we go.
Here we go. Let's have a good show.
1B, stand by.
Yeah.
Yacht, stand.
Yeah,
Take it.
take it. And
Okay,
just go right now. Go to camera 3.
Can you
Go to the gate. Perfect. Just like that.
I'll just go ahead.
Yeah, graphics 2 is going to be up for the first day.
Take it.
Go right now. Go to camera 3. Go, yep.
Can you
Go to the gate just like that. No music.
I'm going to hand to Q, Sophie.
Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it.
On radio in the Canal Zone.
All right, guys, mic check.
Go ready.
Okay, Ricky, mic.
Yep, I am ready.
Wait for it. Wait for it.
Willie, mic check.
Yep, let's go.
1B, stand by.
10, 9, 8,
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1,
and we're live.
Okay, and go for it, guys.
All right, guys, here we go. It is 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It is 5 p.m. Pacific Time, and it is now 8 p.m. Canal Zone time as well. So, but anyhow, happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. We do have some really, really funky stuff going on here because I do see it on the screen there. We have some serious connection problems. I'm not sure what's going on, but wow, this is really, really awful. What is that noise? Is that you, Ricky?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps. Yes, of course.
Wow.
Hello, everybody. Sorry, but running a live show, guys, is technically challenging. And sometimes we have smooth weeks. Sometimes we have to start with a rough start. So we're not even live, bro. Are we live?
Yeah, we are live. We are live, but it's just the connection is just awful. It's flashing everywhere because I'm playing it on my phone so I can watch it, and it's flickering just nonstop. It's
all right. So I don't know. We should reboot. But sorry, guys. Happy hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. Here we are, guys, at the middle bar, as you can see on our flickering screen. Tonight is.
I mean, the audio is good. For what it's worth, the audio is good because I just heard that all of it's smooth. So, it's really something to do with our cameras and the memory or something. I don't know what the hell it is, man, and it's just absolutely bizarre. But what are we gonna do? It is what it is. But it's AOL. Yeah, that's what it feels like, man. I'm just waiting to hear that that crap because that's what it feels like right now, man. It is definitely amateur hour here once again, but I'm not sure what's going on. The audio is okay though, so gosh, this is just really, really annoying, man. I mean, it's you guys are here to see Ricky's beautiful face, and now he's not even on the screen, and so that kind of makes that kind of a thing as well. But now there he is. Now he's back. But yeah, just the flickering is just it's terrible, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to. Yeah, I know it is bad, McGee. You're gonna have a seizure. I would too, man. I'd have a seizure too. I'm about to have a seizure myself here because this is just absurd. It just doesn't seem to want to fix itself on any of the screens at all. Ricky, take over for just a moment. Let me see if I can reboot it one time.
Yes, guys. Again, once again, sorry. Like I said, it's technically challenging to run this, and we also upgraded to this new platform that has got way too many things for us to touch. So, welcome again. This is our first show of the month. I'm Rick Royal from the Canal Zone. My partner Willie Bennyhoff on my right. He'll be back with us in a minute. Both of us are happy to bring you this live show every Friday, better known as the Happy Hour at the Balboa Yacht Club. As you can see, we are at the middle bar. This is exactly what that bar looked like when we were growing up as kids down in the Canal Zone, Panama. Tonight's show, guys, is History Night with David Dahlstrom. He'll be joining us quite soon as Willie can get these technical issues resolved. And we've got some great Canal Zone history for you tonight. I'm going to go ahead and catch everybody up with the news, since that's my thing here on this show. We have been following, what's the news we normally report to you guys is Canal news. So what's going on in the Canal Zone, the Panama Canal area? Last week we told you about the ports, still being in the courts, and China's working hard to maintain that concession, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So they're hoping for an amicable ending to
Okay.
their contract. But with that one comptroller who has taken the ports to court, what he is now doing that comptrollers throughout history have not done is going after the corrupt politicians. For the last month or so, the lower underlings have, like three or four of them, have been, brought in for questioning on some of the corruptions that were involved. And these were like the sloppy ones that got caught, that they just didn't know how to do this correctly. But now, guys, they went and got the former vice president of Panama. So they're going after him. He is Gabi Carrizo, aka Gabby Straw. He's in big trouble.
Cabby straw.
He's
I
in
love
big
it.
trouble, and that's good. It's good for the country. It's good for confidence. It's good for a lot of things. But yes, the hammer is coming down in Panama on all that corruption, and like we always say, it's right on, Mister Molino, doing a great job.
Yeah,
Moving on, moving on from that, guys. Chiquita Banana. We always know, we've all been hearing about them in Panama. So it's always good to talk about them up in Puerto Armuelles. Actually, they're in Changuinola, which is in Bocas. As you guys remember, there was some riots, and then they broke the contract, and then they left, and they came back. Well, they got a new contract, and now they're ramping up operations again because A, there's a market for banana, and B, there's already a system in place. So them not coming back was kind of ridiculous. But they came back with a new contract. What is happening now is the HR is being handled by the Ministerio de Trabajo. In other words, the government is in charge of, hiring all the new labor. So more than likely, you know how things go. They hire the younger guys to come in at cheaper prices, and they rotate. But that's on them. They had whoever was not getting their jobs back. That's on them. They had a good deal and they lost it. So Chiquita Banana is going to be subbing out the HR and the transportation. They're going to be, not handling any of that. They're just basically project managing the operations. So that's what's going on out there, as well as there's two ports out there in that area, which are going to help Chiquita. One is Puerto Armuelles. We always have heard of that port. Well, they're renovating it and adding to it, and as well as that one port we've all been talking about in Chiriquí, Puerto Baru, which is Zonian, is one of the co-owners of that port. That would be Mr. Wees, who's the father of one of our sponsors. And he was also one of the owners of Hammer Construction, as well as, excuse me, as well as look, Willie, you fixed it, as well as the administrator, one of the past administrators of the Panama Canal, Aleman Subieta. And he owned, his family owned Cusa Construction, one of the biggest construction companies.
Right on.
And they provided as well all the labor for the third set of locks. So that's all going up in the Cherokee. And speaking of the third set of locks, last week we mentioned that we had a sloppy opening.
Yeah, we did.
We mentioned that where were we before I looked up at the screen and lost my train of thought here, guys.
Yeah, you're talking about the Puerto Armuelles and all that stuff? The updates?
Yeah, well, let's just move on.
Oh, it was exciting
no,
stuff.
here we go. I got it.
Real important, too.
No, it's on the next page.
Your life depends on it.
My notes. It moved on to the next page. I'm like, what happened to my notes? I know we were talking about something here. It's on the next page. Oh, Canal third locks. Okay, last week we mentioned that there was a arbitration in favor of Panama. So that
Right.
was with the Spaniards, the Spanish groups,
Yeah.
who were actually trying to get a $2.4 billion changeover approved, and they failed. They didn't get it. But so I thought we were home free. We were already spending the money for them. Nope. Now there's a second group that these are the Italians. Back they were known as Salini Impreglio. And now today they're known as We Built. They changed their name. But anyway, those guys are also in arbitration trying to get they're trying to get a $2.2 billion change order. I think one guy was in charge of like the locks, the concrete, and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then the Italians were more of the gates and those things. So
Okay.
Panama will be going to arbitration. I mean, not Panama, the ACP or the Panama Canal Company, former Panama Canal Company. They're going to be going back to court and fighting that off. But
Okay.
Willie, there's already precedent, so I doubt they're going to get that change order. So anyway, so that's what's going on there, guys. The dam, if you guys are interested in building a dam, well, in 2027 is where they're going to start putting out the bids for that dam that we talked a lot about here.
Yeah. So if you're interested in building a dam, like Ricky says, you can.
Yeah. Let
apply.
us know, man. We got the connections.
Let them know you used to live there.
2027, right. Oh,
Yeah,
exports.
Zonians.
Exports are up from last year, 4.7% up into the third quarter of this year.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not huge numbers, but every year,
moving.
it keep going up. They're moving
The
up.
way you want it
So,
to. That's what you want.
yeah, and Molino is setting it up with this new Mercosur. So, exports are going to really, really increase. If again, if that's your line of work you guys want to invest in, exports are doing good. Now, Willie, this little piece of news, and I know I'm flying through this, I just want to get David on. This piece of news is really interesting. Last week we told you about the top 10 resorts and hotels in Latin America and how Panama had a few of them on that list.
Yeah.
Well, this week came out the best hospitals in Latin America. Best hospitals, right? In all Latin America. So that's from Mexico all the way down to Argentina.
Yep.
Believe it or not, Willie, Colombia had 4 hospitals on that list. Brazil, 3. Argentina and Mexico, like you expect, all had 1.
Sure.
Panama was on the list, guys. And it's the Punta Pacifica Hospital. It's one of the 10 best in Latin America.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Panama gets I think when people look at Panama outside of the whole canal, they look at it as just another small country in Central America, right? In Latin America, everybody, the countries in Central America, and all those people argue Mexico, but Mexico technically is North America. But Central America is
Latin
always
America.
ignored, and as far as the Americas go, it's always South America. You have your Brazils and Argentinas and everything else there. And then, of course, you have North America. And then it's Central America and the Caribbean. But what people fail to see is that Panama was Americanized for 100 years, and to this day they still use the American currency. So they view Panama as another Latin country, but they don't realize that Panama had a very Americanized way of doing things, and they had a very business-minded structure to them. And so when you see these things, although they are shocking, because again, you're talking about a country, Brazil. I mean, hell, Rio has more citizens than the whole country of Panama, right? And yet Panama competes
Times
because
3.
again, these guys have been just. I mean, it is amazing, but it really is. I think to people that don't understand, well, that's what happens when your
I
country
mean,
was
that's a
born.
level of excellence when you're
When you have a
top 10.
partnership for 100 years with the United States, that's what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, well, you have access to those markets and those,
Certainly.
and all that, suppliers. So that's, seeing that, it was really, really, really.
Yeah, that's cool.
I thought I informed that. Another thing I want to inform you about hospitals is Gorgas has a new campus. They're putting out a new campus on in Fort Clayton. Where they have all the new hospitals out there. I mean, there are tearing into the jungle. If you guys remember behind SCM, all that jungle.
Oh yeah.
They're definitely tearing into that. They're going
Sure.
up in there now, and that's where the new Gorgas campus is going to be. But check this out. What I love about it, Willie, is the campus. Gorgas. Remember, he cured yellow fever, malaria.
Oh yeah.
Right. So that's Gorgas,
Yeah.
right? That's what Gorgas is known. So the new campus, guys, hey, Mr. Bettinghoff, the new campus, guys, is for biosecurity. It's going to have, for you scientists out there, it's going to have a level 3 laboratory for scientific research,
All right.
and public health, of course, because that's what it's all about, keeping us healthy.
Sure.
But that's what the role of this new Gorgas campus is about: biosecurity. Make sure that all those bugs out there, that we can we can stay alive,
Yeah.
because we're known since day one, right? The mosquitoes.
Well, and more we're learning that some of these bugs and certainly these plants out there in the rainforest have a lot of incredible healing properties as well. So a lot of that research is not just, when you think bio research and you always attach a military component to it, and heck, in the last 5-6 years, you attach a COVID component to all those kind of things. But the flip side of that is also looking for those natural cures, those ones that maybe you don't need to depend
Correct.
on a bunch of other people to
And
get stuff. So
Gorgas in
yeah,
its new laboratory is going to be leading that way. So
makes
other
sense.
things that we report here about Panama are just
Cool.
unbelievably cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of cool stuff, expat community in Panama is becoming a big thing, right? So of course the planners are looking at expanding on that, right? Make money. So there's this new master plan community being planned in Panama. It's already started. Construction is called Porta Norta, or North Point, and this new community, 260 hectares, so it's pretty big. It's like the size of Balboa, La Boca, Diablo put
Wow.
together.
Right on.
That's pretty big. The architects are being inspired by Casco Viejo. It's being designed as a community, pretty big town. You can't call it a city or a mini city, where it's going to have hospitals, schools, shopping, you don't have to leave, and it's going to be out gated community, of course. And the reason I'm mentioning is for the expat, you guys that want to retire in Panama. These are great communities to move in, as well as Chaming and Coronado, which are just booming with the expat community. But this place, it's out there by the Panama Golf Course. So you're out there, in all that green foliage forest, and it's all going to be a self-sustained community. Porta Norta. The architect is Edward McGrath
Okay.
from the McGrath family, the Zonians,
Right on.
family of the Archbishop McGrath.
Oh yeah. Okay, cool.
So that's cool. That's what's going on, guys, in our Bochinche segment. Let me see what else I got here for you guys. Oh, this is great news.
Yeah, la vida, man.
I know, but this
There's
one we
no,
gotta
there was
talk
no
about.
such, the word short.
Well,
When you look at in Ricky's definition, short says does not exist.
I'm a typical Panamanian. How many times do we say goodbye? I que dar la vuelta. When you say goodbye, I que dar la vuelta. Here, there.
That is true. That
So
is
we're
true.
doing la vuelta before we
vuelta,
check
la
off and get
vuelta,
into
but all right.
David before you
Well, I
he
got some stuff
takes
to
off
share
with-
too. Don't worry, but that's okay. Dale, yeah,
this one's good though. The 4 biggest cities in Panama, right?
it's good. Not like your shit.
Colón, Panama, Arraijan, and San Miguelito, right? The 4 mayors are getting together, and so the Colón mayor came out and said, "Hey, we need help here in Colón, man. We just don't have any money. We don't have a way to get more municipal funds so that we can
Typical Atlantic side.
Well, no. Don't go there. Don't go there. Because so the thing is that Panama has all these laws, right? Zona libre, no taxes. The ports, no taxes, right? Not all the ports, but some of the ports, no taxes. So there's all these laws that prevent Colón from getting municipal money. So he came out and said, we need to tax them. Oh my God, why did he say that? So the mayors are all going back, they're all fighting back and forth about, raising taxes and this and that. So the Panamanian mayor that we always talk about, Meyer Mizrachi, he was like, no, we don't need to raise taxes. What's going on is that there is a tax, a property tax, that money collected is supposed to go to all the municipalities. But the government is keeping 70% of it and only giving us 30%. That's why we're broke. So the mayor called out the president, the federal, as we know, the federal government, Panama's known as the central government, saying that the central government is not releasing the funds, that we don't need to raise taxes. We just need the federal government to release the funds that by law should go to the municipality. So I thought I'd just bring that up as a final note on our beautiful butching shit. Oh wait, okay, that's enough. Let's bring David up.
Just pero no. So that listen. There's a lot of good stuff going on in Panama. I
Yeah.
like to mess around and give them a hard time. Panama certainly is an evolving country, but of course we want to always try our best to keep the nostalgia going here and whatnot. And I got an interesting thing I wanted to share here. This was kind of cool that I saw the other day in on Facebook that what's his name Pat Schulte posted this, and I thought it was really cool. It was a posting about a place that I'm certainly familiar with because I've been there and
Oh yes, I think I know what you're talking about.
but anyhow, so I was kind of curious as to who else has had the pleasure of going to Jim's tattoo studio. That was off of 4th of July Avenue. Make that right hand turn there as if you're going by Napoli's. It was actually across the street from Napoli's on that little turn-in road there. But Jim's Tattoo Studio, that is a very famous Zonian place. Lots of Zonians have gone there. I like I said, I certainly did. I've got my my Panama CZ branded on there. And interesting story about that when I went there. I actually borrowed Dave Corrigan's bike, and I was skipping school that day, and I borrowed his bike, and I rode down there. And when you get there, I chained the bike up or whatever, and
Oh wait! Did you walk your bike up Ancon Hill, or did you ride your bike up
oh
Ancon?
no, I went up the road by Gavlin, by the limits, and then turned around and just rode up 4th of July on the sidewalk all the way over.
Ah, that's a different route for my age group. We did
I
we went
wouldn't
over.
go over Ancon. Hell no, that's all hill climbing, brother.
Yeah,
On the way
that's all
back, I
hill
had to go
climbing,
there.
right.
Although the 4th of July was as well, but it was more undulating. But anyhow, and plus I was coming out of La Boca anyway, right? Because I was over. We were at PCC at the college there, and I was like, "Hey, I need to borrow your bike, man. I'm not going to class. I'm going to get a tattoo." Which is $3, by the way, which is kind of impressive. But interesting that when I get there, I chain the bike up, and I go upstairs, and I knock on the door, and this guy opens the door, and his left eye is looking at me, and his right eye is looking off to the side, and I'm like, "Are you Jimmy?" And he's like, "No." I was like, "Oh, okay." And I walk in because let me tell you what, if he's like, "Yeah, I'm Jimmy," I'd be like, never mind. And I'm not sure it would.
Yeah, you're bro. The tattoo's over here, not over there.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was pretty funny, but that was Jimmy's is a like you said, Rick, earlier when we were talking about it, Ricky, it's a rite of passage to
Rite
get
of
that
passage.
calzone
You know
tattoo,
what? I went with all my buddies. Jerry, I think John Cat Zero. I chickened out, man. I didn't do it, but those boys all did, man. Those guys all got their tattoo that same day. We all went the same day. All of us.
That's funny.
Like 10, but I chickened out. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. No, that was it was that. Like I said, that was the place. I mean, everybody, you went to Jimmy's, and that was the place where you got.
That was the spot. Oh, I was scared of my dad. My dad would have
We got
killed me if I
the
showed up.
screens. We got this damn flickering again.
Oh, you're good. You're good on my side. Looking good on my side.
Yeah. So I just thought that was interesting, and a couple people did chime in. I know.
Henry.
I think HB did. I know John McGee also has gotten his there back in the day. Ralph Furlong. A bunch of people. That was a standard one of those things. I remember I came home, and it's funny because my dad's on here listening now. But I came home and we're having dinner, and somehow in the conversation I'm like, "Hey, Dad, I'm thinking of getting a tattoo." He's like, "Well, why would you want to do that?" And I'm like, "Well, Grandpa has, and my grandfather had tattoos on his arms and all that." So I was like, thinking that's kind of a stamp of approval right there, And he's like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Maybe wait a little bit before you get that." And I was like, "Well, sorry, but it's too late." And that's when I rolled up my sleeve, and I had, of course, a little bandage on it or whatever. And he's like, "Oh, well, okay. Well, you did it." And
Willie, you know what? Let's say hi to people. We haven't said hi to anybody. I just been rattling off all morning.
Well, we've been having this issue here, this damn flickering thing that's driving me nuts.
Let's say hi to all our guests.
Yeah, Leaf's down in the zone in
the Canal zone
Yacht Club. He was, in fact, he mentioned just now when I put this new this backstop up this screen there. That's the bridge. They lit it up. Of course, November, guys, is the patriotic month
Patriotic
of
month. Yeah.
Panama. You know, there are a lot of Independence Days and Flag Days, and of course of other things. But
Colón Day. Colón Day was
yeah,
2 days ago.
absolutely.
Yes, yeah.
So one of the things they've done is if they've lit up the bridge in these, you know, red. Obviously, always has this natural white color to it at night anyway. But now you add the red and blue, and it gives it the three colors of the Panama flag, which is red, white, and blue.
Speaking of patriotic day, sorry to interrupt, but I was doing some research for the stuff that we're going to do later on, you and I found out that, the Colombians, they didn't find out almost a month later that Panama had claimed independence. So,
my bad. Sorry, I forgot to tell you.
They had no idea that they had, there was a new country. Took about a month for the news to get there. But I'll tell you what, that Darien Gap is one hell of a stopgap.
That's what it was, man. They forgot to put the little flag up on the mailbox. Postman came by, he didn't pick up that letter going, "Hey, Colombia, man, we're adding the breakup letter. I'm out." Dude.
1 month later, can you imagine? What? We lost Panama? Yeah, bro, a month ago, man.
That is too funny.
They have a
Mark
flag.
saying,
The United States is building a canal. Oh, really? And then they try to like tell you. I said, okay, sorry. We'll go back to the original deal and we'll pay. Oh, they were like telling Panama, we're going to put the capital of Bogota in Panama. Don't leave us. And Panamanians were like,
sorry, brother. We're out, dude.
We got Teddy on our back.
You're offering us a state and a capital. These guys are offering us a country. Sorry, man, but you can't sweeten the deal better than that, man. They're offering us a country, man. Come on.
So you imagine that 1 month of just total partying, and there's just like nobody knows.
But they kept sending letters and like return to sender. Like, what do you mean? What's going on here, man?
9 out of 6. What is that?
Who the hell keeps turning these letters back, man? But all right, so check out Mark says. I guess so. Need to find out if Jimmy's. I don't know if Jimmy's is still around, but I'm sure there's plenty of places down there that'll do tattoos in Panama. Here's the thing, though. Once you get one, man, you can't stop, man. They're addicting. You get one, and after a while, you're like, man, I want to get another one.
Hey, Mark, haircuts are also it's a big thing in Panama. It's like artistic level, getting your haircut down there. So if you're looking for a tattoo, also find a haircut spot. And let us know.
There you go. Leave it to Ricky to find out some of these obscure...
I'm a bochinchero, man. Bro.
Yeah, that he is. Indeed, he is.
104 shows of bochinchando, bro. I think, Jesus.
So anyway, so we're going to go ahead and bring Dave on because, again, talking about November and the whole month of November and the significance of it, which is what he's going to be focusing on. But, of course, before we do that, we want to give love to our sponsor, which is Howler Monkey Sauce. They're going to be sponsoring us this month. So we really appreciate what they're doing for us for the next 6 months. They're going to be our sponsors. So anyway,
you'll see a lot of AI stuff
there, and we've got a couple other ones coming out for them. A couple other Howler monkeys that are applying for that.
That's right. 4 guys, 4 monkeys.
So it should be a lot of fun, but check it out.
Howler Monkey Sauce sent me to the jungles of Panama in search of their new spokesperson, and let's see if we find them.
Hey, listen, you don't need to keep looking for a spokesperson. You found me. I love this Howler Monkey hot sauce.
Wow. Okay, and what's your name?
They call me Balboa up here in these trees.
Roll camera and action.
This one, the Amarillo, is going to be amazing on chicken. Trust me.
Do you know a howler monkey who can describe the sweet heat of our original with authentic ají chombo peppers, or the fresh punch of verde where habanero warmth meets crisp bell pepper? How about the bold tang of Amarillo, yellow Scotch bonnets blended with mustard seeds? And of course, our hot, the same great flavor as original, with red habaneros for that fire. Our sauces are all natural, no preservatives, gluten-free, pure flavor and pure fire. Are you the next Howler Monkey spokesperson?
There you go, guys. So absolutely, uncage the monkey.
I
Uncage the
love
flavor.
that
Now,
monkey
one thing with
Gamboa.
howler monkey sauce, guys, and it's absolutely delicious. And I'm not just saying that because I love this stuff. I've been promoting it since these guys before they officially started sponsoring the show because it is absolutely delicious. Um, Here in Florida, of course, we have Publix grocery stores, which are really big, and they have it here all the time. But if you can't get it at a grocery store, you can definitely order it on Amazon. I know in Panama, if I'm not mistaken, isn't it Magoo's? I believe that has it at their restaurant. I believe they sell it there, if I'm not
Oh, for
mistaken.
sure. They've got to be the ones.
But you definitely can get it here in at Amazon up here in the states as well, and it absolutely is fantastic. That Amarillo one, I use that one all the time. And when you do buy it, you make sure you have to shake it because it does settle, which is what happens when you don't use all those preservatives and stuff, right? So yeah, it's the bomb, man. That howler monkey sauce. So we appreciate those guys stepping up. You know,
Absolutely.
Tommy Ellis and Conan Herring, they're the ones that are the owners of
Oh,
howler monkey
Trina's
sauce.
little brother? Right on.
Yeah, and these guys they had
Yeah.
that sauce on Hot Wings that or Hot Ones that show on YouTube. So it's pretty cool, man. It's cool to have them on, and thank you guys for doing that. But anyhow, Dave, how are you, man?
I'm
Welcome
good. How
welcome
you
back.
doing?
Happy November.
Yeah.
Happy Fiestas Patrias here in Panama.
Yeah. We're gonna talk a little bit about that today.
Heck yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we have a good show. I'm gonna have to do this all by memory because I can't see my notes.
Oh no. Okay. We'll see what we can
And
do to help out there with the
you
assist.
know, at the last show we were talking about the third locks and the nuclear canal, and that was going to be my theme for tonight. And I did some research on that and found some really interesting stuff.
Nice.
And then the hurricane was coming through Jamaica, and
Of course.
I started doing some research there, and I found some stuff there I thought was pretty cool. And then I found some stuff on Buena Varia, and I was like, this is absolutely amazing. I've got to do that. And then I found some stuff, on the flag, and I looked at my presentation. It was 200 slides, and I'm like, it needs to be like 50. So I had to pare this down quite a bit. So I got a lot of material for tonight and the next time. But a lot of this stuff is things that I didn't know, or I hadn't heard this amount of detail. So I'm really excited to be able to share some of this tonight. I do apologize that some of my slides are full of text that wasn't intended to be shown. But it might work out for me tonight because I don't have the notes. But anyway, just bear with us. We'll just tell the story. If you can't read the words, don't worry. I'll explain it to you. But some of the things. Let's go on to the.
Yeah. There you go.
I also want to make one comment. I went out for coffee with a Zonian on Wednesday. We went to a place in Alexandria called Villa Volcan.
Oh, nice.
And they sell two types of Panamanian coffee, Kutara and Geisha.
Geisha.
And I'm going to refresh my screen to see if I can fix this flash again. You can keep going though, but
so I told my friend about the show, and she didn't know anything about it. I'm like, are you kidding me? So I have a challenge for everyone that's watching the show, is that sometime during the next week when you're on Facebook or something, put a comment down there saying, hey, watch the show, I enjoy it, or something like that.
Absolutely. Yes. And tonight we have we check our who watches our show. Every once in a while, YouTube will send us that information, and it's your show that we get the most international viewers. We'll see viewers from Asia and different areas.
Yeah.
South America.
I know you guys advertise on the Panama Canal Society page and Canal Zone Zonians and all these places, but sometimes, like in my feeds, there are certain friends I don't get any information from. It's like, gosh, you have to go look for them. They don't show up on my feeds anymore. But so I'm worried that some folks aren't getting the message. So let's do our part and share it. If you guys watch it and enjoy it, I think just something to think about. So what we're going to talk about tonight is, again, the hurricane Melissa came across, and it was going across Jamaica, and it made me think about some things. And I usually have a segment called Famous Zonians, but tonight I'm changing it up because what I read, I'm just going to call it Jamaican Me Famous. And basically it's it's famous, or or known Jamaicans that lived in Panama at some point, and so we'll talk about that. Then I have a couple of what am I's, and then we'll get into the Panama independences. We have independence from Spain, and we also have separation from Colombia. And then I have a story about the flag, and then I have some where am I's. Then I want to talk a
Good.
little bit about of a place called Zona,
Okay.
and then and just some other things. So let's get going. We got a lot to do.
Jamaica.
You're making me famous,
You know,
and so
some of
this
the
is
biggest
some.
names
So,
in Panama, David, are from
mhm,
Jamaica. Like the Motas are
yeah.
from Jamaica. Yeah.
Mhm. All right, so go to the next one, Will. So this is the headline of the story, and is on. It's called "Wired Jamaica," but it's an older story. But Jamaicans who helped build the Panamanian Railroad and the Panama Canal hailed for their pioneering spirit, and I really like that word pioneering, because all these folks that went down there, I mean they basically went to nothing and built something, and conditions were pretty horrible,
Mm-hmm.
and so they were pioneers. I mean, basically they were the first ones there, and they struggled and they persevered, and not everyone made it. So I like that word pioneering, because
I think it's
everyone kind of went, and they were,
properly
it's
used.
challenging. So then we'll go. This story is about the Permanent Council of the Organization of American States, OAS,
Mm-hmm.
and it was in commemoration of the 46th anniversary of the signing of the Torrijos-Carter Treaty on 7th of September 1977. So that was 46 years ago. This was 2023. So now it's 48th anniversary. Can you believe it's almost been 50 years?
Mm-hmm.
50 years. That's a long time. But anyway, this representative, basically reading this speech, and she says, work on the Panama Canal provided an alternative for Jamaicans at the time when poor socioeconomic conditions persisted on the island.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I read about that is that things were so bad in Jamaica, people will do anything to work. And then remittances sent by Jamaican workers in Panama helped provide a stable life and shelter for relatives at home in Jamaica. And basically what that means is that they were making money and sending it back home so they
Mm-hmm.
could survive. Um,
And this is where the silver roll comes in, because
yeah, right.
that's the
They were all hired on silver,
right.
and their letters also formed a springboard of hope for a new generation of adventurers to seek a better life abroad. And I'm thinking, man, these guys are sugarcoating this stuff, because this was not like a, a holiday. And I'm sure the letters of hope were probably, I hope I live. Um, but anyway, so we'll go on the next one. And it says harsh living conditions and social segregation triggered Jamaicans, among other Afro Caribbean nationals who were the bulk of the workforce, to organize labor strikes and to fight for better compensation. And I did look it up, and in the 1920s, there was a 5-day strike, and 16,000 laborers walked off the job, and they had their demands, and they didn't get all of them, but they did manage to get an 11% raise out of that.
Mm-hmm.
So but it does say here that conditions were harsh. When you read the other paragraphs, I don't see that listed. But
Well, that was the reputation of working in Panama. People were going to go to the die. That was
Mhm.
the reputation at the time. So that's why pioneering is
Right.
totally the appropriate.
So then it goes on to say that it also saw the community denouncing racism and racial discrimination through membership in transnational Black solidarity movements, like the Universal Negro Improvement Association, which was founded by Marcus Garvey in Jamaica in 1914, who later became Jamaica's first national hero. And so I never heard of Marcus Garvey, and I looked him up, and he actually worked for the Panama Canal from 1910 to 1911. And he talks about how he experienced the gold and silver roll life, and the disparities, and how they were treated. And he also worked for the United Fruit Company in Costa Rica. So there were a lot of Jamaicans that went there too. And I guess the conditions were harsh, and there was segregation, And for this gentleman, it moved him to take some action. For him, things were so bad. But I've never heard of Marcus Garvey, and he's the first national hero of Jamaica. And he basically, I think part of it is because he worked on the canal. But here's the next one is a picture of this gentleman. And he's known as a political activist and also Pan-Africanism. And he promoted at the time a Go Back to Africa movement in the Americas, trying to get blacks to move back to Africa. And he died in 1940. But just basically, he was a canal worker.
Canal worker, yeah.
Worked on some. I don't know what his role was. It just said that he lived in Cologne or some and worked there for 2 years, and then he moved on to other Costa Rica and I think Nicaragua. But then this article goes on to say that the Jamaican government welcomed the initiative by the government of Panama to update the National Registry of persons who have contributed to the construction of the Panama Canal. And I think we've talked about this when we were doing the segment on La Boca, that the West Indians were, they weren't American, but then they weren't really being welcomed as Panamanian either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in one of the constitutions in Panama, I think it was in the 30s, they basically stripped their nationality. So now I think and we talked about some of the athletes that were there, and some of them had run for the Panama team in the Olympics and won gold medals, but not really recognized for those accomplishments as like Panamanians. And so now they're saying, the Panamanian government is now starting to recognize the contributions that the Jamaicans had in building the canal, and then it goes on to mention a couple of notable people. And the first one, they call her Nurse Mary Secoyle. And so I looked up her, and we'll talk about her in a little bit. And the cricketer George Headley, and then Rastafari pioneer Leonard Howell, who's also known as the first Rasta, and journalist Evan Blake, a sculptor, and a journalist Evan Blake, and a sculptor named Alvin Marriott. So I've got some pieces on each one of them. The next one, Willie, Nurse Mary Secoyle.
Mm-hmm.
They spell her name wrong in the article, but she moved to Panama with her brother in like 1849, when the gold rush was happening, and they had a hotel in Cruces, which was on the Chagres River, or Chagres. So that's where basically all the boats would come from on the Atlantic coast. They take their boats. I think they were called bungos, basically dugout canoes.
Right.
And then they would stop at Cruces. That was the end of the river, and then they'd have to do the rest by walking or by mule to get to Panama City. But they had a hotel there, and when she lived in Jamaica, she experienced cholera epidemics, and she became skilled in treating people with cholera. So when they had cholera outbreak, and we told the story about Ulysses S. Grant coming to Panama in 1852,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of his troops got cholera. Well, guess where they were? They stopped in Cruces, and there's a good chance that she helped
treat some of them,
treat some of those people. But then amazing. She went on to be a nurse in Crimea during the Crimean War.
Wow.
And they had, I guess, a bunch of cholera, and took care of a lot of soldiers and stuff. So she was kind of like the Florence Nightingale of it. So
and she was never affected by any of those diseases.
She actually did have cholera at one point. But it didn't she didn't die from it, but the article does say that she contracted it at one point. and everyone knew who she was. Like she was the, like the cholera queen. That's how
Yeah, of
that's how you
course.
got saved. If you got it, you went to her, and she could treat you. So this other gentleman, Evan Blake, he was a journalist, and the article says that he was like 14 years old, and he saw a banana boat in Kingston Harbor, and he stowed away on it and went to Panama.
Oh, look at that. Right on.
Is that where that song came from?
Banana boat? No, I don't know, but
Stock me banana till the morning come.
Yep, Harry Belafonte.
Yeah.
But so then he's in Panama and he becomes a journalist and he works for the Star and Herald.
Right on.
All right, we know that paper, right?
Yeah, we sure do.
All right, so some of our ancestors probably read his work.
Yeah, right.
All right, so that's Evan Blake, and that's his story in Panama. And he lived there for a number of years, and then he went back to Jamaica. Then the next one I have is George Headley. He's a cricketer, a batsman, and he won all types of championships. He's like 22 titles. I don't know cricket, so when I read it, it's just like I have no idea what it's telling me.
Right.
But it looks cool, and apparently he's like one of the Babe Ruths of cricketing.
Right. There you go, Babe Ruth of cricketing. Right on.
With the little Zonian DNA in him. Right on.
And I went to when I was in junior high school. I had a classmate that was his last name was Headley, so I don't know. Maybe that's a relative.
Sure. Interesting.
I don't know, but all right. So this other guy, Alvin Marriott, he was a sculptor, and he spent some time in Panama, learning his craft, I guess. Couldn't find a whole lot about him in his time in Panama, but we'll just go on to the next one. And do you recognize this image? Who that bust is?
It almost looked like the first one that we showed.
It's Marcus Garvey.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so he made a bust of Mr. Garvey. So obviously he's a prominent man in Jamaica, and so he gets a statue. And this other Zonian or Panamanian Jamaican,
right?
Whether he lived in the zone, I don't know. But
remember, we're a subculture of the Panamanian, so we're in there.
Yeah. So then another famous statue this guy made. We all know who that is.
Heck yeah.
I'm not exactly sure where it's at. It's probably in Jamaica somewhere, but
he's definitely from Frijoles.
But and then the last one. This was in 1944, and he goes to Washington D.C. and he presents a bust of Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yeah.
That's not him on the left. That's like General Warren or something like that. But
yeah, he'd have been sitting right next to the statue.
But that's Franklin in the bust of Franklin.
Yeah, FDR,
and so another Canal Zone person making his presence known in the U.S.
Yeah,
putting the Canal Zone on the map again.
Yeah, so just something I thought was pretty interesting, and I thought I'd share with everybody because we don't really hear a lot about that.
Yeah,
no, we don't. Well, and especially like we've learned from you from previous shows where. There wasn't that big of a Jamaican influx building the canal as there was Barbados because of the previous experience with the French. Well, but I think a lot of them were left over.
Yeah, but then this is what fascinated me about this article more than anything.
Right.
It says during the French phase of the Panama Canal construction, 1881 to 1889, 84,000 persons migrated from Jamaica, and 62,000 of them returned. So, 20,000 stayed or died. I mean, it doesn't say why they didn't return.
Oh, that's true.
But 84,000 in an 8-year period. That's 10,000 a year, right?
Yeah, yeah, dude.
That's a lot. And then it said between 1882 and 1884, in that 2 years, 32,000 left, and then 14,000 returned. So. Those numbers are shockingly high. And then what I found interesting in the next paragraph, in 1920, 6 years after the completion of the Panama Canal, the Panamanian authorities estimated that 70,000 West Indians were in Panama. And then it says under the French control, I think they mean U.S. control, the canal project, 12,000 were on the payroll, and 10,000 were British West Indians. 9,000 of them were Jamaicans, and only 1,300 Barbadians. So their numbers seem to say there are a lot of Jamaicans working
Yeah, but
there.
I think that's what he meant was the French control, because I think that was the deal, and like you said before, that when the Americans came in, they went to Jamaica. Japan's like, I don't think so, dude.
I know,
We
but I
just
guess
had to
part of it
repatriate
is
a whole
that it
bunch.
starts off with 1920, and then in the same
Yeah.
paragraph, then it ends with the French, and it's like, well, I'm not sure what it means, but it's different than the numbers I told you last time. I thought.
Well, it says it's recorded, so I'm wondering if they're just referencing that. But that is interesting because it does switch from
Well,
the
that's
previous
that's
numbers.
it's one of the things that's really difficult in doing some of these presentations is that the information isn't always exactly the same.
And that's strange because the internet never lies either, and so it's weird that you
Well,
can look at a
like
few.
some of the things that I've been pulling from, they were written in 1938,
Right.
before the internet.
Sure.
But again, I can't necessarily say that everything I present is 100% factual. I can say it's 100% what was reported, and here's my sources, and that's why I kind of like having these images and stuff to say this is where I got this stuff from.
Sure.
But if I find something that deviates from that, I'm going to come back and let you know.
Yeah. Right on.
And people might hear one number first and then hear the next number later, and so whatever you hear first, you think that's the correct one, and now you're saying something different. You're you're lying or not, but it could be that we don't have our facts
right. No, of course.
accurate.
And it makes sense what you just said, that the first one you hear, we assume that that's the fact, and that this one could be wrong.
Yeah.
This might be the right one, and the first one was wrong, for all we know.
Yeah, and so it's interesting when I see these things. But
yeah.
So I try to do when I do my research, try to verify the information. Like some of the stuff I read, like about Bonavaria, it said that he helped build the French subway, the Paris subway, and then later on it says no, he had no involvement in that. It's like, who's making that up? So I'm not going to report that.
Sure.
It's like if it's a rumor, I'm not going to talk about it.
It remains a rumor.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna move on to what am I? And so here's a document, and you have any idea what this is?
A warranty. No, just kidding.
A warranty. Yeah, it's from the mattress.
Yeah. so from a President's Day sale.
It's President's Day, kind of.
Yeah, so I guess it makes sense.
All right, so go to the next one. There's a little bit. Zoom in a little bit more.
Okay. There we go.
Independencia.
We zoomed in too much. I had cropped some of it out earlier. But...
All right, so go one more.
Okay. There you go.
This is the Declaration of Independence from Spain.
Oh, from Spain. Okay, so this is 1821. Right on.
1820. So
Even before the
28th of
Panama
November,
Railroad.
1821.
Yeah.
And so when you look at the logo, the coat of arms in the middle, that's the Colombian coat of arms, because Panama was part of Colombia.
Sure.
Wait, Gran Colombia.
Correct.
Yeah, we'll get to that. I mean, because we say Colombia thinking that it's all the same thing, but it's been like 5 different things in that century. Right. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides. But in this document, the first one, if you can remember, everyone has their signatures, just like our Declaration of Independence from England.
Yep.
And they're signed. And then on the margins, in those little oval boxes, they've printed the names of the people that have signed it.
Okay.
So you can actually read who.
So you know who it is.
Who it is.
I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. So, I'd never seen this document before, but I knew that Panama has the November 3rd and the November 28th.
Sure.
And that one was always called the Independence, and the other one was called the Separation. Or the Divorce from Colombia. So, and there's a difference. And that's why they have 2 in 1 month. But I've never actually seen that. So I went looking for the declaration, like our Declaration of Independence in the United States. And
it's a good one.
And this basically is like the only image I could find of it.
Wow, that's amazing.
I can't find any others, but anyway. So I just thought I'd share that because if I haven't seen it, there's a good chance that a lot of other people haven't seen it. And we should at least be familiar with it because we do
Sure.
try to promote our Panamanian
Yeah. Big part of our
cultural
history.
heritage as well. And we didn't learn all this in schools necessarily. We learned the date.
And didn't we have November 3rd off in the zones, in the schools in the zone as well?
I don't
No.
recall. I don't
No.
think so. But I remember November. We always had like every week.
I know at St. Mary's we did.
No, I
Well,
think
St.
we might
Mary's you
have. I think
might
we
have
might
been a little bit different, but but one of the things that we did do at like the football games and stuff is we always played the national anthem
Correct. You're right.
and the Panamanian national anthem in
Yeah.
the U.S. just like they would do in Toronto with the American and Canadian national anthem, and the band would play the music. We would
Yeah.
play the national anthem.
Yeah, I guess when
at
you're
all
in
the
band, you had to learn
events.
that one too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, right on. I guess that's good when you're trying out for a band in college.
Wait.
You have to
We got
play
a little
two
bit of
national anthems.
important information to interrupt. Napoli's
that.
will be closed for 2 weeks, all you Zonians.
It's been closed. It closed last week. I saw that. Yeah.
So just remember that when you're down there.
Okay.
Don't want to be in battle with
They
all
got a
you.
few
we're
more
looking
days
forward to a
before they
report
open
when
back
it
up.
reopens. Make sure you send it in.
Sorry, Dave, but that is important news.
Absolutely, man.
From the Canal
Breaking
Zone.
news there,
Yeah.
brother.
All right, so so the first part of it, on the November 28th, but it was in 1821, was independence from Spain, and it all started back in 1811 when one of the provinces of Gran Colombia,
Cartagena, that's where my family is from. Yeah. Free state.
declared their independence from Spain. That was basically the province of Cartagena. They called them departamentos, but Cartagena was an area in that republic, and they declared their independence on 1811. But the Spanish sent an army to crush them, and they fought it out, and the Spanish won in 1815. So that rebellion, they might have declared their independence, but they didn't gain their independence.
You got the deed, but you didn't get the car.
Right. So Panama declared its independence November. Did I get this right? Yeah, no, they declared it. Parts of Panama. I forget the city now. I don't have my notes. I can see them, but I can't read them.
Los Santos.
Los Santos.
Yes. El grito
They
de la
declared they were the
libertad.
first, area of Panama to declare their independence on the
Yes.
10th, and then the rest of the country, followed, and by the 28th, I guess it was.
Well, remember the smell of independence was in the air all over the Americas at this point, right?
But
20 years ago you had the U.S. and then you had all over South America. Simón Bolívar was running around doing that.
And it probably took 2 weeks for the horse to get
Correct.
from one.
Yes, great point. Yeah.
So
it did travel fast.
The independence of Panama just didn't happen in one day. It happened over a brief period of time.
Yeah.
So it's a long thing, but it ended on the 28th, and so that's the day that's celebrated on. But it started it'll be this week, the 10th.
Yeah.
Probably the day Napoli opens back up. But then so when Panama declared its independence, it then became part of the new Republic of Gran Colombia.
Right.
So it went from being a part of Spain to a part of Gran Colombia. And then that Declaration of Independence was drafted by Manuel Jose Hurtado. Okay.
Yeah, back then they were make sure you wrote your address down in pencil because it kept changing. It went from Colombia to Panama to Spain.
So this is the next one is the Free State of Cartagena. They're the ones that in 1811 submitted their Declaration of Independence, and I found a copy of theirs, an Act of Independence, Province of Cartagena. But basically, it would have been like the first one I showed you, 28th of November, 1821. That's the Panama version. This is the Cartagena version. Every province had its own declaration, and then they became part of Gran Colombia.
Lord have mercy. No, this one was written by lawyers.
All right.
Length of that one.
Okay. So then the next thing I want to show you is that this was the flag of Panama when like the French were there, and I guess before they declared independence from Colombia. This was the flag that was, if you look at it, it says Estados Unidos de Colombia, and then it says Estado Soberano de Panama on the bottom.
Yeah. About
So
that.
sovereign state of Panama
Yeah.
is part of this thing. But what I thought was interesting is the coat of arms. Go to the next one. The coat of arms. Um, Instead of having the harpy eagle, back then they had the Andes condor.
Yeah. Right.
Because Peru and Ecuador were part of
Sure.
that Grand Colombia too,
Yeah.
and they had condors and stuff over there.
Heck
So,
yeah.
10-foot wingspan. 10.
Yeah. But what I thought was really interesting about this, let's go to the next one. Go to the next one. Zoom in a little bit more. Is that on the bottom of the coat of arms?
Yep. Oh, the
You
shield.
see the Isthmus of Panama.
Yeah.
And 2 ships. There's no canal.
Nope. It's true.
And then, of course, the red hat is called like a Fijium, and basically it means like freedom or something like that. And that's,
okay. I was curious what that was all about, though.
yeah. And then, of course, the cornucopia and the horn of plenty. The one, the one has the gold coins spilling out of it, and the other one is.
Sure.
But the interesting thing about this coat of arms is if you look at the Colombian coat of arms today, it's exactly the same. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. I got a story on that. They kept it.
Yeah, I've heard Petro talk about that. Panama is in their original coat of arms.
Yeah. So basically, we just talked about this. Is that, and I thought this was kind of funny. I found this on the internet. It says, the coat of arms, the bottom part, the ships remind us of Colombia's history with the sea. They especially point to the Isthmus of Panama, which was once part of Colombia until 1903. Today, the ships also show 2 big oceans, the Atlantic and the Pacific, that touch Colombia. The sails on the ships mean that Colombia trades with the countries all over the world. They also represent the country's growing economy. And it's like, that is the biggest spin I've ever seen.
Right.
The 2 ships recommend, they're trading around the world, and they have Panama on there because of its history. It's like,
and lo and behold, those ships turn out to be the American ships that are saying, "Stay the hell out."
Yeah.
I
guess when the Russians put Alaska back on the map,
Right? Yeah.
So, all right, we talked about the Fijian hat being the symbol of liberty.
Okay, yeah, that's
And
interesting.
fight for independence on there.
Fijian.
Okay.
Fijian, and that's a Greek term. So here's an old map, kind of showing that whole area, New Grenada, Gran Colombia, all those things. But you can see there were 12 different departments or provinces, and Cologne to Cartagena, it's only 300 miles.
It's not that far.
And when I just drew that arrow on there, it's a straight shot,
Yeah.
So when you hear about the Colombians coming to Panama during,
Thousand-Day War,
the revolution, it wasn't that far to go.
Right.
And it's just 300 miles in a ship. That's nothing.
Right. Yeah.
So I just thought that was interesting. I never really thought it was that close.
Interesting.
So then, if you look at blow up on the map, the next one, zooming into Panama on the map, it says Departamento del Istmo. So they didn't call it Panama; they called it Istmo, and then they would put de Panama after that. So a lot of times you'll see it's listed as Departamento del Istmo.
Yeah, because that's the way it's written on the map itself. It's not up on the label there, but actually you see it in the text here. It's hard to read, but it says Departamento del Istmo. And I wonder if that isn't a way to kind of keep them down. You're not a full Panama, man. You're just this department. It's a slight way of politically to exert control over them.
Well, we always say, like Panama,
the Isthmus of Panama
declared independence from Colombia, and it's like, well, it's the Istmo declared independence from Gran Colombia.
Right.
but we call it what we know it today versus what it was called back then.
Right. Right.
And so I just thought, I haven't really thought about that much. I knew about all these different places over time, but I never really stopped and thought about what it was. And that's why in that Independence it says Istmo de Panama or Istmo. It doesn't say,
Provincia de Panama.
or province. So, all right. So
well,
we'll go on the next
and
one.
Colombia does their states are labeled as departments, not as actual states.
So then the next part, the separation from Colombia instead of the independence from Spain. So basically, from 1819 to 1831, it was called Gran Colombia, and that was the Simón Bolivar period.
Yeah.
And then 1831 to 1858, it was called the Republic of New Granada.
Almost 30 years.
And then from 1858 to 1863, it was called the Grenadine Confederation. And then 1863, it became the United States of Colombia. So when the French were coming and all that stuff, it was known as the United States of Colombia. That's who it was. So the French company actually signed a concession with the United States of Colombia, not with Panama.
Right. Correct.
It's like Panama was just kind of hey,
it was a province.
This happened to you.
Right.
They might have had a vote, but they were one of 12, right? So, all right. So then the next one, going back and looking at some of the flags. So this was the province of Istmo. And this was their flag back in 1821.
Wow.
And it looks like it's, it's kind of, I guess it's blue, maybe it's green, who knows.
What a hideous flag.
I was going to say, even for a colorblind guy, that thing was
but Provincia de Istmo. So that's what it used to be called. And I don't know that I ever knew that that's what its name was.
Yeah.
Provincia de Istmo. Yeah, I've been doing some research on those days.
Yeah. So then going back to next, the Republic of New Granada, it was still called Provincia de Istmo, but the flag changed. The stripes go a different way.
But now you're starting to get the colors of what is today Colombia, and even Ecuador has those same
and Venezuela.
And Venezuela. Yeah. Interesting.
Right. Yeah.
Those three nations.
Then 1855, it's the state of Grenadine Confederation.
Yeah. Not much
and now it's Estado de Panama.
Yeah. And then bam.
Okay. But, everything else staying the same, but now it's Estado de Panama. So part of that convention, they called them states.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know. But then it goes on. The next one is New Granada and United States of Colombia. And, they all say Estado de Panama on it. And then, of course, we've talked about this one in the past, this last one. Did I miss one?
Yeah, no, the other one had the two of them on it. I
thought they were the 1886 flag, Republic, the Republic of Colombia.
Right.
And so that's where we get the the Colombians versus New Granada and all that other stuff. Is by 1886 it became Republic of Colombia. Basically, we know. I would assume that Venezuela and all those places had parted ways to Ecuador and stuff. I'd
be interested to find out what the meaning of the colors are, because there's a reason that the yellow is more prominent than the blue and the red, and I'd be curious to see what they symbolize there.
But then I like on the bottom, abolished 3 November 1903.
Yeah, listening to Petro talk recently, they're pretty upset that Panama used red, white, and blue instead of the Gran Colombia colors.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit. So then the next one, and we've talked about this one before. This is the one that one of our area came up with, and his wife actually sewed it. And when they presented it, they're like, "No, this looks too much like the American flag, and we don't want those colors."
It looks like 2 stoned eyes.
Yeah, it's supposed to be 2 sunsets, one like in the Atlantic, one in the Pacific, and stuff like that. And the other part of it was that we're not going to have the flag made by a foreigner, because Buenaventura was French, and that, nope, it's going to have to be homegrown.
Yeah.
But you don't see this flag very much.
No, I mean that almost looks like LGBT or something like that.
Yeah, that's an interesting
It's
flag
pretty
concept
hideous.
there.
But could you imagine that would be the flag that we'd have?
I
No.
don't think it'd make it.
All right.
Hey, we got a question here. Here for a deal. Does anyone know where the word Panama originated and how? I know Panama means abundance of fish.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
we talked about it on one of our shows when we were talking about the formation of Panama City.
Yeah, but
And
this is
basically
Panama.
when the conquistadors came across the isthmus and found the Pacific Ocean, eventually they made their way to where Panama, the old Panama was, and that area, the fishermen called it abundance of fish.
Yeah, abundance of fish or abundance of butterflies. There's always been conflicting whether it was
Oh yeah,
fish or
butterflies for
butterflies,
sure.
which is
So
kind of odd.
that was the story that I read
Yeah.
based on what the conquistadors were reporting.
Yeah, I saw that too. The abundance of fish. It's
Yeah,
actually
and there's another one that I have heard a couple of times, and this is more along the terms of the Gunayala, which was Banaba instead of, and it kind of maybe rolled over into Panama from there.
Yeah, it could have been that, but basically when this the research that I saw, and that's where a lot of this stuff is, who knows what's
Sure, and maybe they all are true.
yeah,
It's referred to
was
by
that
different people.
that where they decided to put Old Panama, there was a fishing village that was there, and that was like what it was referred to as.
Yeah.
So
I do remember that one. So, but yeah, hideous flag either way, man. Buna Maria, damn, dude.
yeah, so when Columbus
Keeps making deals, bro. Stay out of the flag business.
Yeah, right. Stay out of the flag business, brother.
when Columbus came to Panama in 1502,
looks testicular.
It was called Veraguas.
Yes, correct.
And he was the Duke of Veraguas, so it wasn't really known as Panama. I mean, you can say Columbus discovered Panama, but he probably never heard that word in his life.
Mm-hmm.
Right, correct. You're right.
Nombre de Dios. No, that wasn't.
But that was later on after they started.
Yeah,
starting to
that was.
colonize
I mean, it was like 10 years later, 10, 15
Yeah.
years later, but Columbus probably didn't live that long.
Okay.
All right, so 1863, United States of Columbia is formed, and then the French company, they negotiated a concession. I mean, with the United States of Columbia, and it only went to the year 1893. I mean, they had a period. It's like when you give someone a contract, you say, you have X amount of time to do this. Otherwise, everything expires.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the Panama Railroad basically had a concession for a number of years. One of their provisions was that they were going to build the railroad out to the Causeway Islands to build a harbor. And if you didn't do it by a certain time, you had to pay us like $20,000 a year, which was like $2 million, in today's dollars. And for like 10 years, they had to pay them. So
yeah, because as we know now, the Causeway wasn't built till after the canal was dug out.
Yeah, you're right. But so Panama made a lot of money by the railroad not building out there. But we also learned that the railroad was making so much money they didn't care.
At the time that the Panama Railroad was running, when it first started, was the most valuable company in the world.
Number one, it was the Tesla of the time.
Yes, it certainly was. If you owned stock in the Panama Railroad, you were sitting in some money, man. Yeah, indeed.
All right. Cool. The other thing I wanted to say about Weiss, when Weiss went to Columbia, you know who accompanied him?
George Washington. No, just kidding.
No, but
Amador?
close. The George Washington of Panama.
Amador?
Amador Guerrero, yes.
Yeah,
I've been studying him. Yes, he's from Cartagena, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what his first job was in Panama?
Well, I can tell you that he went to Washington before Buenaventura to negotiate with Teddy Roosevelt and the Americans, but they didn't pay any attention to him.
Well, in 1855, Manuel Amador was
Amador Guerrero.
Guerrero.
Guerrero, yes.
He was a physician for the Panama Railroad since 1855.
Oh wow, okay.
and that's the year it opened.
How about that, man? That guy
And he
had a
also
history with him.
worked. He also worked as for free Santo Tomas Hospital.
Wow, they've been around
For
that long.
he
So
worked
that
there for
guy, when he
29
was doing
years.
all
In
that
20
stuff
years,
with,
he worked there for free.
so if he was a physician for the Panama Railroad in 1855, then that guy, and you have to assume if you're a physician, you're certainly at least 25, 30 years old,
Yeah.
right? And so you figure when he's doing all these things with the Panama Canal in 1903 and then going to Jamaica and then New York and
What?
all that stuff, this guy's got to be in his 70s or 80s doing
Yeah,
this
he
stuff.
died in 1909.
Wow.
Yeah, he was definitely like George Washington. He was the leader, but he,
But
you know,
but I'm saying
Panama.
he was an elder statesman by the time this went
Yes,
on
he
with
was
the
an elder
Panama. I
statesman.
mean,
Yes,
holy cow, he was way up in years.
Yeah,
yes.
but those are two facts that I had never heard before. That he actually worked for the Panama Railroad,
Yeah, right.
and
So he
then
had a connection with the
he
canal zone
also had a
early on.
pharmacy in Panama City. That's how he made a lot of his money, being the pharmacist, and he donated his I guess Santo Tomas was for a hospital for the poor, and
Okay,
so
right on.
he did it. You know, part of his, I guess, his
Sure.
profession. You
Now
do
that
that
guy's got
stuff.
quite the legacy in Panama,
Mhm.
outside of
Oh
just being the first
yes,
But
president.
you
yes.
know, those are things that I've never heard of
Yeah,
before,
right.
and
That's
so
what
I
I mean.
wanted to share that with
That's
everybody.
cool.
It's just you know, he wasn't just the first president of Panama. He was doing stuff there for 50 years before.
So for the folks that lived in Amador, you got to think that was named after somebody that was quite accomplished. It wasn't
Yeah,
more than just the
absolutely.
one piece. This guy was quite the statesman.
Hmm.
Quite the figure in Panama,
Right.
basically. That's
Mhm.
awesome. Good stuff.
This next one, becomes the Republic of Colombia. That's how we know it. And then Panama was referred to as Departamento de Istmo, also Isthmus Department.
Right.
And we've talked about that, so it's kind of a repeat there. And then I apologize for this next slide for being all text. I've got too many of these in this. I know it's getting late. We probably won't be able to go through all these things, but
Oh, we got time. We got time. At
but
least an
one of the
hour.
things that this says is from 1855 to 1866. This is we talked about the a rebellion, and this was like the first time the U.S. troops came in to squash things. And we also talked about when Cologne burned like 5 times, but
Right.
one of the first times it burned was during a rebellion in 1885. And so, this is shortly after the French got there. The French started digging their canal in 1880, and but it also says that Ferdinand de Lesseps brought fresh millions for the hungry, and his company was robbed by the local authorities almost as enthusiastically as by his own employees.
Oh, it's so
And so,
Panama.
we hear about the French having all these problems, but the French company had to pay, like, even the French politicians had their hand out. So
Mm-hmm.
this guy,
Yeah, but
you
that was
can
a
say, oh,
big
he was
chunk
a
of their
bad
budget was to
businessman
pay
and he
people
didn't know
off.
how to do all this stuff
Yes.
That
because
was
people were robbing them.
They were, man. These people, the one thing the French were not good at was finances, man.
Yeah,
God Almighty, they
right.
paid everybody, man. If you
Yeah.
came in and looked at
So
them crooked, they were paying you off.
I forget who I got this from, but basically what he's saying is that the Lesseps goes down there and everyone sees him as like the cash cow, just
Yeah,
Heck
money
yeah.
the
bags.
money, money bags. And he probably did have a lot of money, but even Gustav Eiffel took $10 million
Right.
for nothing, didn't deliver anything.
Nothing at all.
Well, no, no. He
So
designed the original gates, I believe.
he did, but he didn't build them.
Right. He didn't build
He
them.
still
Correct.
kept the money. He asked for the money up front,
Yeah.
and then they didn't get built. And then the
Yeah.
company went
Yeah.
bankrupt, and Gustav didn't say, "I'll give your money back."
My
That's how
bad.
he got caught up in it. He got
Well,
he got
I
arrested
think they
too.
just used him to sell those stocks, right?
Yeah.
That was the
Well,
bottom line,
no,
right?
they actually were going to use him to
You're
build
pay him
the
$10 million
locks.
to build the damn locks.
Yeah, I mean, they actually did build one. It was in France. I showed a picture of it. I
Yes,
found
that's
a
right. It
picture
was
of it,
massive.
but it was in like Lyon, France. It'd have to be shipped over, but they did build one of the locks. It just never got installed. I mean, the company went bankrupt before they could could do it. But basically, it says, okay, so during the scramble, revolutionists seized and burned Cologne. We've talked about that. We showed pictures of that.
Right.
And then, of course, a lot of the French Canal stores were there.
Sure.
Then the Marines landed, restored order, and and basically propped up Colombia again. Because the U.S. came in there and crushed the rebellion, and so Colombia was still in charge. And then I guess it was in Colombia, the general declared himself president, and had a new constitution, and that's how you get the Republic of Colombia. And then they deprived Panama of all of its rights as a sovereign state and made it a province under direct control of the federal government. I guess they call it federal government in Colombia as well. And that just pisses off the Panamanians more, right? And naturally, there's great indignation on the isthmus, and and then there were more attempts for freedom. I think they had like 50 different attempts for
53 to
rebellion.
be exact. Yeah. They
So-
won the final on the 54th.
Yeah. So when you think of Colombia and Panama, it doesn't seem like they were friends with each other.
No, they really weren't, and that's
They
why,
were-
kind of to your point when you mentioned the whole flag color thing. I was like, well,
Yeah.
listen, man, come on.
Yeah. So then, the Republic of Colombia, it says that one man had been elected vice president, but he kidnapped the president with the cavalry troop, put him in an unsanitary dungeon where he died, and then, without bothering about a Congress, he called for one sole purpose of offering to the United States, hoping that he would get a higher price for the canal. And I guess what was happening is that French concession was ending.
Right.
And the U.S. was looking at the Nicaraguan canal. In fact, they called it the American route. And we talked about this. Everyone ever talks about it. Is that the U.S. had their mindset on building the canal in Nicaragua.
Sure. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was kind of like, well, are they going to get it out of Colombia? They the Hay-Horan Treaty. They were trying to get Colombia to ratify it, and they weren't doing it. And what this is saying is that they weren't doing it because this guy was hoping that the clock would run out and the U.S. would pony up more money.
Right. Yep. That's what he was waiting
And
for. to get
whether
paid.
it's true or not, I don't know. But it's just one of those things that it's kind of like, well, it's food for thought. And it could be true. Is that someone was thinking that he was going to get all the $40 million for himself,
Sure.
And then the Colombians rejected the offer, and this goes and says they forgot what that meant to Panama. It's kind of like they rejected
Right.
the offer, and Panama was just like, okay, that's one straw too many.
Yeah. Once again, we're being ignored.
Well, there was, listen, guys, I've been doing some research on this. There was also, like you said, 53 attempts, but there was also a rumor going around that Nicaragua was going to invade Panama. So Colombia had to split their forces to take care of this rumor up in the Chiriquí area or Bocas area. And so they sent their other snipers up there. So that's when Panama took advantage of Colombia's military being split up, and I'm sure that the French and the Americans as well.
Well, yeah,
That's
originally,
one of the reasons why they chose that time to make that move.
and we'll get to it in a second, but just on that point, that the original independence rebellion was supposed to happen on the 28th of November. But I think because the Colombians were preoccupied,
Correct.
maybe with Nicaragua, I can't remember who it said.
Yeah, it was a rumor that they were going to
They-
come. because
they
They
said-
lost their deal.
We got to do it now. We're going to do it now.
Right.
It's going to be the
Now or
third.
never. Correct. That's the way it
And
was.
all right. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, let's go on the next one, Will. Is it's called the 1,000 Days Civil War. So between 1899 and 1902, right before the U.S. in Panama declared its independence, Panama was in a civil war with basically Bogota. I mean, I guess it was liberals and conservatives.
Correct.
But when I heard about the Colombian Civil War, for some reason I was thinking it wasn't in the Panamanian province. It was just over, on the Colombia side, like they were having a war over there, and they were too busy dealing with that. They couldn't deal with Panamanians. But it's like, no, Panama was part of the Civil War.
Yeah, they were.
And so that lasts for 3 years, and it was a bloody war. They said between 60 and 130,000 deaths, and the country was in economic ruin. I mean, they basically had just had you think about like Ukraine and Russia, 3 years bloody war, all these people dying, and your
And the
economy's
population
kind of
wasn't that big. 130,000 was a big chunk of the population.
yeah
It was
for
a lot of
back then,
people.
sure.
Yeah, heck yeah, it was.
All right, so just one of the things you talk about the 1,000 Day war. Again, this isn't necessarily stuff we learned about in school, so I just thought I'd bring it up.
Yeah, and one more thing I want to add to that, my research, Panama had already had this group of businessmen that were pro-business. They were never, federally inclined. They were like they are today, a logistic hub, and these guys were businessmen.
Yeah, they
So
were the
that was
merchant
one
class.
merchant class. Well, that was one group of the total Panamanian government. The second group were all the liberals. This is where my family comes in. This is where Amador Guerrero comes in, Belisario Porras, and a few others. They came over from Cartagena and then took up the fight in Panama at the end of that war, by the way. And so they formed a group between the Cartagena guys and the Panama guys. And Amador Guerrero is what brought these two groups together. And that's why he was so important.
Yeah, he was very influential.
So, the 1,000 Day War ends in 1902, and in Panama City, there was a battle between the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, and the Liberal Party had a ship called the Lautaro. I can't remember the name of the one that was from the Conservative Party, but it basically sank the Liberal ship and ended the war in the Civil War in Panama after this event.
Nice.
But this happened 3,000 feet off the point of Casco Viejo.
Oh wow! Okay.
That these two ships were fighting each other, and then this one sank right there in the.
So everybody got a good view of it if you're in the city.
In the bay, yeah. Well, I read an article, and I have a copy of it in here. But go to the next slide. But that's the ship that sunk out in the bay. So I did this map, and you can see on the legend that if you go 1,000 feet off of Boveras, you're almost to the Cinta Costera.
Yeah.
So 3,000 feet would be just a little bit past that.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's right there on the shore.
Further. Yeah, it's before the causeway.
Oh, way before it.
Yeah, so they were fighting right there between the causeway and the bay.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. Those. And I never heard about that. No, where's that ship? Is it still there?
Right.
I guess they moved it, salvaged it, and stuff like that. But that was a major battle, and I've never heard about that. And it was just right
with
there.
All the scuba diving going on in Panama, I've never heard of that. There's a ship out there because I'm sure they would have found that wreck.
Well, I mean, I would imagine they moved it. That would have been right in the path where the French were digging their channel.
Right.
But there's probably remnants of it on the bay bottom.
Oh, I'm sure.
You leave some debris behind. So this is the article that was published in the paper, and this was the naval duel at Panama, and this was a French commandant that was in Casco Viejo at the time, and it was the Almirante Padilla and the Lautaro in the Bay of Panama on the 20th of January. So go to the next one, and it basically says that this guy was sent to Panama to look at some surveys and stuff, and he was stopping at a hotel near the harbor, and at 6:00 he heard cannon. And he climbed to the roof of the Panama Canal Company office. We know what that one is, the Panama Canal Museum. Mm-hmm. So he's up there. He's got a good vantage point. And he can see the rebel warship firing guns at the other ship. And then Lautaro it was like one of their largest ships, and their machinery was out of order, couldn't move, and so
Yeah,
they're
that's what
like
I was
sitting
reading.
ducks. It said the duel took place 3,000 feet offshore, and then the general of the ship was killed, and then it it says it was just being circled, and they were helpless and like sitting ducks, and
And it says he was killed on the first attack too. So I
yeah.
mean, they were doomed from the get go, man.
Yeah, they could only fire guns one direction, so it's kind of
Right.
like if it wasn't in your line of sight, you weren't going to hit it.
Oops.
And but then it said it went, the men on the on. I mean, it caught fire and tipped over, and then I guess the next article says that the crew they started swimming ashore trying to save themselves, and that's kind of strange to have a
Well,
military
and
naval
you want to
battle that close to
and the thing
shore.
about civil wars are always been talked about where when it comes to war is always ugly anyway, but civil wars are particularly vicious for whatever reason. And here's a great example of it, because here these guys are trying to swim to shore and they're drowning, and the Padilla's like, we ain't picking you up. What the hell with you?
It reminds me of the story of the November 3rd independence, where it says the only casualty was a Chinaman and a mule.
Right.
But it's like, yeah, but just a few months later there were casualties.
Yes, they didn't
that
consider them casualties apparently.
Yeah, it's like we just all we learn is like the last page of the story.
Yes, that's
but there's so
exactly
many
right.
more pages that are in there. So the next time I'm in Casco Viejo, and I'm at the French Plaza, and I'm overlooking that area, I'm going to think about that ship.
Yeah, you can envision where that took place right there, stones throw away. Probably 3,000 yards or feet, I guess it said. So
And I
certainly
bet
could
if
hit
you
with a
ask
golf
one of the tour guides there about the Lutaro, they'll say, "What are you talking about?"
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
That's right.
So
You only learn that stuff on happy hours.
I mean,
Balboa
I
Yacht
hope
Club.
not. I hope they know about it, but I've never heard about it.
We never heard about
So
it.
I never heard about it.
So the other one that was famous during this time is Victoriano Lorenzo.
Yeah.
And he was liberal, and he was also known as Cholo Guerrero. Guerrillero. But he was executed by firing squad May 15th, 2000.
And that name, if you guys recall, during the last part of the Canal Zone before the full switchover, because Amador was one of the first bases to transition over, and so everybody, of course, driving out to the causeway, you always drove by those barracks, and they were called the Victoriano Lorenzo barracks.
Right. So he was like a national hero, and he was the only one executed.
Yes.
But he was executed by the
after it was over.
But he was executed by the Colombians and stuff. So there's bad blood between these two.
They big time.
Big time. But now you know why. It's kind of like he was the symbol.
Yes.
We're gonna take your man, and he's the only one.
Makes you wonder if Colombia maybe had aspirations of coming back into Panama, so therefore you got to get rid of people like that.
Probably. I mean,
well, they knew something was up. It was getting hot.
So this is what he looked like, and he was born around 1867, and he died, of course, 1902.
Yeah.
And then I found, surprisingly, photographs of his execution.
Wow.
Yeah,
and I'm only showing the one before, but they have others afterwards, and that's him sitting down on the left.
Yep.
And then the other images, the firing squad moves up closer to where that man in the white is. But you see in the distance, right in the center, what do you see?
Is that Ancon?
The guy sitting down?
No, the building.
The building.
Oh, the two spires?
Yeah.
Would that be? I can't say that's El Carmen. I don't think El Carmen was built back then.
That would be right there, Cathedral Square.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, because that's
Yeah,
okay.
And I believe that is Ancon Hill in the back.
Yeah.
So he was executed right there in Casco Viejo.
Sure. Well, that was the seat of power.
Right, and you can see everyone in the back and on the right side watching it.
Oh, look at
and
this!
They were
HV just mentioned that in the play 1903, one of his characters was the priest giving Victoriano his last water.
He's the man on the far left.
Ah, look at that.
You see him?
In the black robe.
That's the priest. Oh,
right on the edge.
Oh, there's actually two. There's two. There's another priest standing to his right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no right. So he's
good.
Victoriano's the guy sitting down, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
right. Exactly. He's wearing a suit.
Yeah.
Looks like. But
yeah. I'm reading up on him. I'm doing some research on him too.
Yeah.
That whole era. What was going on behind the scenes during that time?
Sure.
So that's
because we all know what happened above table. Willie and I are researching below table.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard the name. I lived in Amador. I went by those barracks. I saw the Victoriano Lorenzo all the time.
All the time.
You know,
Ni un paso atrás.
half the guards that lived there shook me down for a ride to the
Right.
YMCA, and but they got M16s.
Sure. Why
Yeah,
not?
you're good. Yeah, you're good.
Yes, sir. Why not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You hop in. I had a pickup truck, and I get like 12 people jump in the back of the pickup truck. All right.
It's always nice to make friends with cops.
So, have you ever heard of the Wisconsin Treaty?
No.
No,
Where's Vern? Vern probably heard of it.
Yeah, because we have talked about this.
All right. Well, the Wisconsin is a battleship, and after the 1,000-Day War, they signed the peace treaty aboard the USS Wisconsin. And so this was just, Victoriano Lorenzo was executed in May. And this is just a few months later, the war ends. And because of the bad blood between them, I guess the neutral site was on a battleship out in the harbor.
Makes sense.
But I think this is off the Colombian coast more than Panama.
Oh, okay.
But I'd never heard of the Wisconsin Treaty before and all that stuff. So,
I thought that was a thing back then. You sign treaties on ships. The winning country, the one that's brokering it, do it on their ship.
I mean, I guess the U.S. ship is considered U.S. territory and neutral territory almost.
Yeah, certainly.
So then I found this other image, and this is called it's called like signing the Wisconsin Treaty. I would imagine that these are Colombian delegates, because it doesn't look like they're on a ship to me. It looks like they're in a building.
Sure.
So maybe they took it, but you can see they've got like an ink well.
Yeah.
Right in the center, and so they probably are sending it. But then the next interesting thing I saw was later was this stamp, and it has the image of those people on it, and it says 40 años de paz, so 40 years of peace, Treaty del Wisconsin, 1902. And so 40 years later, they're still like, hey, we've had peace. So just kind of to me, it just sounds like the temperature has turned down.
And they're trying to accept it. And they probably got they got their payment too, so they're a little bit less bitter.
Yeah, because the U.S. paid them off Colombia like a couple of years after the canal.
Well, and just based on the timing alone, you have to. Some people probably associated the ending of the 1,000-Day War with this whole treaty and this whole independence of Panama and everything else, because it got a lot of the liberals out of Colombia and they all moved to Panama and say, hey, we're going to start a new country. We're out of here.
That treatment motivated the Panamanians to take action.
Absolutely. Makes sense.
Absolutely. So, and that's what I wanted to try to talk about, is that we just know that the independence was declared on the 3rd, but what led up to it? What were all the things that were going on? And
that's what we're researching.
That's what we're trying to figure out. And
right.
And there's so much more.
Right.
But you have to cut so much out, because
and what's interesting and what we're learning is that when it comes to Panama's independence, not all roads lead to the Panama Canal.
Yeah.
That there was a lot more than just the United States wanting a Panama Canal and saying, hey, you want a country, we want a canal? Great. There's a lot going on ahead of time that set this up so that the United States could go in there with a
Panama
climate
wanted
that was
its
rich
independence.
for it. Yes.
And the U.S. wanted a canal.
That was the catalyst, was the canal, but the independence movement was there, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
So,
that's awesome.
My next one is, who was the last governor of the Departamento del Istmo?
Okay, here we go. A little action.
Come on, Ricky.
Was it Brit?
No.
Okay, yeah, man, you got to think.
Oh, then it was let's see, was it De La Guardia? I think I wrote it down actually.
All right. Well, let's
Some
go
of my
on the next one.
research.
I'm not spend too much time on this one. Well, this is my
All right.
research says that his name was Jose Obaldia.
Oh, De Obaldia, right? Not De La Guardia. Yes.
But there were 3 last governors in the last year.
Yeah.
See, the Colombians didn't trust Obaldia nor the general in charge of Panama.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah. So what I was thinking is that okay, Amador becomes president, but he wasn't governor before the declaration.
Interesting.
So who was president during the Declaration of Independence, or who was governor?
Well, there was a guy named Brit, Brit, I believe, Brit, and he was a provisional president before Guerrero, like in the transition.
In that 14 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't look that up.
And
but
one more day and he would have got his pension, but he didn't.
But he was serving under that old Colombian flag.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Obaldia, that's the guy that Henry works with. He's the guy that his great grandson wrote that play, 1903.
I love the end of those chairs, those heads.
Yeah, right. They're like little gargoyles on the handles.
Yeah.
Even on the back, even on the handles on the back, you got 2 more.
But this is a trivia question.
Yeah.
Who is he? I mean, Panama didn't. I mean, I guess Panama did start on the 3rd of November, but I mean, there were people there before, and you can't forget about all the others that are behind there doing their part.
So you think somebody like Amador? We learned now that he's been around for a while, right? He was a physician for the railroad.
Yeah.
So this guy's been in that country for a long time. How many different passports did that guy have? I mean, well, Amador, any of those people, because I mean, they went from being part of Colombia, part of this, part of that. The only one he missed out, and although Amador, with his age, he probably even had a Spain passport at one point, because it was even part of Spain. I mean, this guy lived through many different nationalities in that one country.
Well, we saw at least 6 that Dave talked about tonight.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So this guy probably back in, you go through his stuff at the, once he's passed, you're like, man, look at this guy.
It's
got a Panamanian passport, a Spanish passport, a Colombian, a Grenadian, this one, a Cartagena one. This guy's got every passport, man. He's like
I remember
jackal.
When I was trying to find out who the ambassador from Peru was, because it said the ambassador for Peru was the one that named Balboa, and I was looking at all the names. It's like there were 40 ambassadors in Peru from like 1900 to 1904. Right. It's like they didn't last for a couple months.
Oh man, that wasn't a job that was long lasting, man. They tell you,
I don't know who it is, and it's like, oh my gosh, it might be this guy from China.
You're like, oh no, that guy was last week.
So, all right.
Well, Panama wasn't like a destination.
I mean, it was very much in flux. You had 50 years of a country that was very fluid.
All right, so what I have next is a whole bunch of text, and I don't intend to bore you guys with all this text, but I guess with the first one, we're just talking about. It said every inhabitant on the isthmus knew that if the United States were not allowed to build a canal in Panama, it would build one across Nicaragua.
Mm-hmm.
Where they already had a concession. Like I said, it was already called the American route. They had to do the Spooner Act to get it to be changed and all that other stuff. And if it wasn't done, not only would Panama lose its hope for prosperity, the railroad would even cease to be operated. That was a concession too, because the French actually purchased the railroad.
They sure did.
And so not only would you not get the canal, that railroad would go away. You wouldn't have anyone to operate it. I guess you could have someone else come and do it, but I mean, for that interim period, you wouldn't have it. And the isthmus would have little or no trade importance.
Sure. And then once the canal opens in Nicaragua, it would even falter even more.
So then it said, as soon as they saw the American treaty was doomed, and that was with signing with Colombia, the Hay-Horan Treaty, they began to prepare for a revolution. And I think, we kind of come to the same conclusion, is that,
a lot of factors.
Their central government wasn't looking out for them. Correct. And they were done.
Panama was a stepchild.
They were done.
They were treated as such.
So then it says that everything was in their favor. The garrison had been left unpaid, and also they didn't even have a shutdown, but they were unpaid. And I guess you're Willie, Ricky, you were talking about maybe troops were sent to Nicaragua for other things.
Bocas to go stop the Nicaraguan invasion.
But it says companies of men were organized, probably by those the groups you're talking about, and rifles were smuggled in from New York. They were prepping, and then it said soon every prominent man on the isthmus was in on the plot. So this was kind of like, we're going to do this and get everybody involved, except the governor.
Balboa, but they still didn't trust him. That's what I've been reading.
Yeah. So then it says
but
his
this kind
eyes
of reinforces
were shut
what
to
you
it.
said, that Panama was very much a liberal province, a rebel province for Colombia. So it made sense that the majority were in on the plot, because all of them wanted to get the hell out of there.
Yeah. So it says that the governor had his eyes shut to it, like he knew what was going on, but he was like staying away from it.
Yeah,
and it says,
and the general in charge of the army down there.
And then it says, instead of the usual carpetbagger from Bogota, the newly appointed governor was Jose Obaldia, a man whose family lived on the isthmus for centuries.
Wow. So there was a vested interest in that place.
He told the Colombians that if the treaty was rejected, Panama would revolt, and he would do nothing to prevent it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had to split loyalties then, I guess.
Well, I mean, you saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
And then the treaty was rejected, and then the date was set for the uprising. This would have been like November 2nd. The Colombian gunboat steamed to the harbor of Colon, and 400 men were on that boat. They landed, and we know this story about get on the train to take them to Panama City, and they couldn't do it. But then the next one was that the Panama Railroad officials, whose sympathies were with the revolutionists. Well, can you imagine that? The doctor worked for the Panama Railroad. All these people, the
odds were against Colombia big time.
Yeah, everyone working for the Panama Railroad was a sympathizer.
Colombia had no friends in that province at all.
Yeah. So they refused to let the army ride over there. We've heard this story many times, and so let's skip to the next one. We can skip over a lot of this stuff, and then Colonel Torres was the Colombian one, and he asked that. I mean, they let the generals come over. They separated the generals from the troops. They brought them over to Panama City, and they basically put them in jail. And he said that if the generals weren't released and the flags weren't hauled down in an hour, they'd kill all the Americans in Cologne and do all this other stuff. And that's when the Nashville shows up, and they only had half as many soldiers on the Nashville. But it says that that Torres, I guess after the Nashville got there, Torres then declared his great love for the Americans, and a few days later, he and his conscripts were bought up by the Panamanians for about $20 a piece and shipped back where they came from.
Love it.
So and you read the stories where one of Varia and others had raised money, gold and silver, and they paid these guys. I thought it was more than $20, but they paid them gold and silver. Some of the generals got gold and the conscripts got silver.
Yeah.
But they did get paid. And
when you think about it, if you understand a conscript, that's basically somebody that's been drafted. Okay, so they're not exactly volunteers gung ho necessarily, and so all of a sudden it says $20. They're like, I'll take it.
In the previous slide, it said they hadn't been paid.
Right. So I mean, they made it real easy. They really did.
So yeah. And then this is the Nashville. The next slide. We hear about the Nashville. I've never seen a picture of it. This was one of the biggest ships that the U.S. had.
Wow. Which really doesn't look that menacing then, but
no.
The smokestacks do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you hear about coaling stations. You know, they're burning coal. That's
Yeah,
what
heck yeah.
comes out of there. So it's, you
Absolutely.
know,
You can see them from miles away. This is where you could see the advantages of something like Ancon Hill back in the day and why, they ended up moving
you
the
can see
city
the
there because
smoke coming for
heck yeah,
miles.
dude, you can see that for hours, they're coming, man. Heck
Yeah,
yeah.
they probably didn't go that fast.
No, certainly
So,
not. That's
so,
cool. That's a great
so
shot.
then it goes on to say in this article that the isthmus was now entirely in the hands of its own people, and it had been there 3 times before. Three There were 3 lines of actions open to the United States. The first one was to intervene, which they had, basically a treaty with Bogota to do.
Sure.
Intervene and force the Panamanians to back under the rule of Bogota, which they had done 52 other times.
Right.
The second was to let the two sides fight it out to the finish, which they just had a 1,000-year war, right?
Yeah. So that probably wasn't a good idea.
And it said, well, they've already tried the first two for 50 years, and none of those worked. And then third course was to recognize the independence of the Republic of Panama and forbid Colombia, it says now a foreign power, to land troops on the isthmus. And that's what President Roosevelt did. And then another American Western congressman says, when that jackrabbit jumped, I'm glad we didn't have a bow-legged man for president. So, and basically saying, that the opportunity presented itself
You got to
and he
act
took
on
the
it.
shot.
Yes, 100%.
And then
Which is
anyone
very much
acquainted
in
with
the
the history of
personality of Teddy
Panama,
Roosevelt was very much that kind of a person.
anyone acquainted with the history of the isthmus, the revolution of 1903, almost equally sudden, appears no less natural than a jump of a startled jackrabbit. So basically, it's like this kind of all happened organically, but I think if we look like you're talking about Amador going to Washington, even Bonifaria went to Washington, and they talked with each other.
Sure.
And then some of these things will say the U.S.
If this
didn't
were to
ever.
happen, would you do this? Well, yes, of course. Well, great. Then maybe this will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And lo and behold, it happens.
So let's skip through some of these others. We're kind of getting to the end here. Just go to the one that has the flag on it. We'll end up on these things here. So I want to talk about the history of the Panamanian flag.
Okay.
And November 4th was Panamanian Flag Day.
Yep. Just a few days ago.
So right. So that's one of the
Look at this
things.
guy.
And then so the official adoption of the flag wasn't until Law 48 passed in 1925. So
Wow,
we've
that's a
talked
long
about the
time.
first transit and the official transit. Well, we had the first flag and then we have the official flag, not till 1925.
Wow.
So that was 100 years ago. So happy 100 years to the official
right
flag
on.
of Panama. And I made a commemorative stamp for it.
You sure did. Look at you.
That's an actual stamp, you can
actually use it.
Put that on your packages and send it.
And return a sender. That's cool, man. And it's amazing that it took them that long to actually get the flag out there. It wasn't something that, I mean, you'd already been around since 1903, and yet 1925.
Well, so go to the next one. So this is actually the first flag.
Wow, look at that.
And they call it the Banderilla Herida.
Yeah.
The wounded flag. Do you know why they call it that?
Battle damage of some kind.
Yeah, go to the next one. This is just some more close up. You can see some damage on it. We'll get to that in a second. If I can remember where to.
But it's interesting that the caption there says that it's in Spain.
Yeah, it's in Spain for rehabilitation.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, this was an article that they were sending it off to get conserved.
Sure.
I mean, it's in rough shape.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Yeah. And we're going to tell the story about it. But this was basically, a postcard showing it. It's the flag flying, November 5th, raised over Cologne for the first time.
Interesting. So now that's in 1903. So I guess they took the official stance of adopting it, but the flag had been designed. It was being used, but they didn't have the official paperwork signed off.
The flag was revealed on the 4th.
Okay, right on.
and then on the 5th, it's flying over Cologne. I guess that then the next day they put it on the train and went over there and said, "Hey, look what we got." I
And
mean,
who
I don't
knows?
think they
Maybe
had two
somebody
of
in
them.
the 1920s decided to put up another flag, and they're like, "Well, no, this is our flag." And like, "Well, not according to any paperwork." And that's
I
when they
think
made me
they
realize, hey, wait a minute, we haven't officially recognized this flag yet, man.
yeah, I think they only had one flag.
Yeah, that's
And
interesting
but
though. They
according to the
took that
article I'm
long.
going to read to you, it was just one.
Okay.
So the next slide, this is Amador's family. It's his wife is in front of him. It's his second wife, and so he had two children with his second wife, but he also had children with his first wife.
Right.
And his son from his first marriage is the one that actually designed the flag, and
Okay.
in that Law 48 is given credit for designing it.
Good.
Article 4 of that law
So
says
he's the Betsy Ross of Panama.
Manuel, Esteban Amador is the creator of that.
Okay.
But Guerrero, Amador, you can see he's a lot older than his wife.
Yeah, he sure is.
She was 17 when they got married.
Look at this guy. Look, Hugh Hefner there.
Yeah. So just
Pelao.
some facts that you probably never heard before.
Right.
Did you know he had two wives? Did he know
I
they
had no
had?
idea.
You know what I mean? That that his son was the one that designed it. So so here it goes. So this is a story about eh, um, his wife, the second wife, Maria, and her patriotism. And she's also known as the mother of the country of Panama, and
Okay.
was a central figure in the separation in 1903. And that she was also had a fundamental role in the creation of the national symbols, the flag, and she's known for the creation of the first two flags. Well, it says the first two flags, so maybe she did do two of them. I don't think it's two separate ones,
Right.
but she helped with the conspirators. It says she was part of the group from the beginning. She concealed meetings in her house, planned
Oh, right on.
strategies to distract the authorities,
Sure.
recruited sympathizers for the cause, and such was the invention of Mrs. Amador in the creation of the Panama homeland, and her very notorious participation as a conspirator and patriot. So, she's highly regarded, I guess,
Sure.
in that movement.
Yeah, I recognize.
And then so this is the story that that's being told, and this is kind of in the voice of Amador's first son, and it says, "My father pulled me towards him, holding me tightly, and said, 'Very well, Mary, make the flag right away. Um, we may need it at any moment.' This is how Mrs. Amador got down to work on November 1st. She thought of everything, since the colors white, blue, and red were not on the Colombian flag. Buying fleece in those colors would arouse suspicion.
That's funny.
So she decided to buy them in different stores. She bought the white fleece at the French Bazaar, the blue dahlia at the red, and the red at La Villa de Paris. She also decided not to make the flag at her house because the authorities suspected a possible plot. And if that were not enough, Jose de Ovalia, the governor,
Get out of here.
lived at their house.
Like a soap opera here, man.
And there was no way they could make it there without him noticing it.
What do you do? Is that a flag? No, it's no flag.
No. What are you
eating breakfast.
doing? So then it goes on to say that after her husband's death in 1909, she lived. Oh, did I skip something?
No, you're good. I just moved to it.
Okay, I think I missed. I think I lost a slide. But that was kind of interesting that when she makes the flag, she goes to a different store, does it clandestine to make sure that they're not raising any suspicion and stuff.
That's funny.
But this goes on to say that she lived in Paris until 1939 after her husband died, and then she moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then she died at 93 in 1948.
There you go, Maisie, Charlotte, North Carolina. There you
Yeah.
go.
So
See what you can find on her over there.
and then in 1935, Flag Day was first celebrated in her honor. So 1935 was when the first time they did it, and then 1941 they passed the Public Law 60 to recognize her contributions to the nation.
Okay.
And then another one says that the flag was baptized on the 20th of December in 1903 in the Plaza Francia. And the next image is a
Cool.
picture. I don't know if
There
you've
it
seen
is.
it before. I've seen it pop up in pictures a lot of time. I
Sure.
never knew what it was,
Right.
but I don't see the flag in there.
No.
But apparently this would be all of the conspirators celebrating their flag victory here. And that soldier on the right in the front, man, he's all decked out, isn't he?
He sure is, man. He definitely didn't
So
play basketball, but holy cow, he's sure did.
I guess this is a Plaza Francia. I don't recognize any of the buildings and stuff where they're at, but
Right.
um so the next time I'm there too, I'm going to think, well, this is where they christen the flag at.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. So let's go on to the next one. Um, let's see. So she goes on to say that on the events of November the 3rd, that on that day, she said, my husband went out to the street as soon as he received the news. At 6 a.m., without having breakfast, he went to talk. And I learned later that some conspirators determined that the coup was planned for the 28th of the same month would be carried out immediately. So it's kind of like it. They didn't know it was going to happen that day.
Right.
It just say it's got to happen right now.
It's happening now, man. Our
It's
window's
happening
opening. Let's
now.
go.
Happening now. Get ready. And
Let's
so she
go.
said when she returned home 2 hours later, she found him lying in the hammock in his room, and his hands clasped over his forehead. And she said, "What's wrong?" And he says, "I think all is lost. Some of my companions are wavering." It's like this guy that went to go get a tattoo and then didn't get one.
Yeah.
So I started to encourage him and give him some confidence he needs in those difficult times. And then he says, if they leave you, you have to proceed. There's no turning back now. Go on, get up and fight.
Look at that.
So he goes out and he goes and he sees Mr. Prescott. And Mr. Prescott works for the Panama Railroad.
Okay.
And he also ran the like the teletype or whatever that lets you commute. What does it say in here? What
Yeah,
telegraph operator?
yeah, that she was a telegraph
Yeah,
operator,
yeah,
and so they were able to secretly communicate without
yeah,
letting the cat out of the bag,
yeah. So Mr.
basically.
Prescott was married to a Panamanian woman, and he had served as many years as a telegraph operator for the railroad, and was serving as the sub superintendent. And he could communicate secretly
Yeah.
with Superintendent Shaler, who also worked for the Panama
Railroad.
Railroad, and he was
Yeah.
in Cologne, and he was asked, not to allow the Colombian troops on there.
Yeah.
And so this is saying that she was instrumental in getting that message sent secretly over to their side about this is the plan. And Amador agreed to many suggestions um, that she made, and then
Sure.
managed to get Prescott and Shaler to follow his request.
Yeah.
And then
Play
when the
along.
generals, came searching for Mr. Shaler, they weren't in Cologne. And
Nowhere to be
they
found.
couldn't facilitate the troops getting on the
Yep.
train. And then it said there was even talk of blowing up one of the bridges, the Barbacoas bridge,
Yeah.
to
How
prevent
about
the
that?
train from passing in case it wasn't possible to prevent them from getting on the trains.
So stopping those Colombian troops was paramount in their
Yeah.
eyes.
So they had a plan B, and the next picture is, I don't know if you've ever heard about the Barbacoas
No, never
bridge,
have.
but you've heard of San Pablo.
Yeah.
Remember we went looking for San Pablo?
Correct. Yeah.
So this was the bridge in 1879. Um, and I won't talk about all the details of it, but it's a iron bridge, and it has 6 spans that are 100 feet in length, and it crossed over the Chagres River, where it passed the town called San Pablo. And the next one is a image of it with some water flowing under it. It's probably
Wow.
dry season time,
Sure.
and then the next image is another, and it actually says during the dry season. So it's a pretty substantial bridge. And then where The next one, where San Pablo is kind of right in the middle of the country,
Yeah.
and that the blue circle in the center is um, they have like these 6 districts. I can't remember what they're called, but this map is divided into 6 districts, and the San Pablo area is like right between these 2 districts, and that was the river flowing before they were built the canal. And go to the next one.
But you know
This
what's really,
map
before
is
I
a
move on
map.
real quick, it's interesting. Notice on the title on this map, it's from the Isthmian Canal Commission.
Yeah, yeah. Go to the next one.
Oh, okay, there you go. Look at you.
Isthmian Canal Commission general map of Canal Zone,
How about that?
1905.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that was a really cool map to find.
Yeah, indeed.
And then I zoomed in on it, and you can see like right in the middle there, San Pablo, and then the Chagres River, winding through there.
Yeah.
And I'm not exactly sure where the bridge is. It doesn't really show up on the map, but that's the area that they were going to blow up the bridge if the Colombians managed to get on the train and stuff. So they had a plan. All right,
Sure.
so let's go on to the next one.
And a plan B.
Yeah. So the Panama Cession Movement, they were business and professional men on the Isthmus and in New York. The majority were connected with the Panama Railroad. So you think Panama Railroad making a lot of money, people in New York, it was a business.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Business, like everyone had a stake in it. And then at Panama, there was Jose Arango, railroad attorney and land agent, Dr. Manuel Amador Guerrero, physician for the railroad, and then James Shaler, superintendent of the railroad, Prescott, the assistant superintendent, and that's the guy that we're talking about, the telegraph,
Yep.
and then James Beard, who was a freight agent. And in New York, they had William Nelson Cromwell, general counsel for both the Panama Railroad and the French New Panama Canal Company, and they were the leading conspirators. So,
Well, you think about those guys in New York, they think of what they're seeing there, because by now they know that the French Canal Company has failed. And
yeah,
if they want to keep living that high life they're doing, they better jump on this one,
yeah,
because they know that Uncle Sam's got even bigger
yeah,
pockets.
right. And the railroad the men are in it too. I mean,
Ricky, you might be muted. Can't hear you.
So then it says here the conspirators of Panama sent Beers to New York in July and Amador in September to arrange details of a possible Panama uprising. And I think that's what you were talking about, Ricky, is that, yeah, he was sent up to the U.S. and they talked about, a
Start
plot.
setting contingencies.
Yeah, but I think, what we hear is that neither the Secretary of State or the president would ever like tip their hand about what they were doing, except maybe give them a wink or something like that.
Sure.
So it's
Makes
kind of
sense.
like plausible deniability. Right?
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what that is.
So then it says when Avarilla arrived in New York in September 1903. The Panama conspiracy was not doing well. Colombians had learned of Amador's activities, and Haran warned Cromwell, this is basically a lobbyist, about becoming involved. And then, so this goes on to talk about, and it's already past 10 o'clock, and we could probably go on another half hour on this stuff. But what's really interesting about this write-up is that it gives you details by the hour of when things happened. And literally there are instances where just like 4 to 6 hours transpire between something happening and not happening, and so it's like a diary of what was happening.
Well, you know what, Dave? That brings up something interesting, and now that you mentioned the time and everything here, um, we have on our 21st show, we just had a cancellation on there. So why don't we do this? Why don't we plan on, if you have time, if you'd want to, if
Yeah.
you're available, come back on the 21st and let's kind of do that timeline, because I think that would be fascinating to see.
Yeah.
That's really when things started to move and shake, and things started to move
Yeah.
quickly, like you said, and I think that
Yeah.
would make for a fascinating show to go through that
Yeah.
timeline of,
Yep.
the
So yeah, we can do that, and then I'll add on this other stuff I learned about Buenaventura. And what I learned was that he lived to be like 80 something years old and was living in
okay,
Paris. And this reporter was said, "Hey, go see if you can interview this guy. We do this radio show called Ripley's Believe It or Not, and it's a 5-minute thing, and see if he'll talk to us." And so one of Maria, I'll talk to you about this. And he says that he starts pulling down like reams of photographs and information about all the stuff, and he's like, "I only got 5 minutes," and he's like, and then it goes on to say, "Hey, we're gonna have to cut your story to 4 minutes." And he tells Brenda Maria, "Hey, I gotta cut you to 4 minutes." He's like, "What?" And he's like, "Now they're telling me I got 3 minutes." Like, what? But can you imagine the amount of information that guy had? But the story is it's a phenomenal story I want to tell you guys. And so, yeah, I could come back on the 21st
I think it would
and
be
do this.
fantastic because otherwise
And
we're rushing through it here. This way, we can really put something really cool together because
can make,
you think about, things are changing by the minute, by the hour, like you said, but you're still talking in 1903. It's not like you have the internet and you have, cell phones and all these things. So, a lot of times people are working in the dark a lot and they're hoping to hear something, maybe get a cable, maybe get, something sent to see what the next step is. So it's a really, really fascinating conspiracy. And like you mentioned earlier, and Ricky talked about this, you know, Ricky and I have been chit chatting in the background on some of this other stuff, what was going on behind the scenes, and we know the story of Amador going to Jamaica first to kind of throw them off the trail that way, and then catching a ship from there to New York, etc. But there was a lot more going on, and this it's a, I guess what you would call it, a romantic story to think it was very organic and all of a sudden this happened and this and we decided to start a country. But the truth is people were conspiring behind the scenes in a lot of different areas because, you know again, Nicaragua was in the picture. There's a lot of people in both in Colombia and Panama that are looking at Nicaragua going, hey, we better do something now because we're both going to lose out. Whether it's a Colombian canal or a Panama canal, there's a problem there, you know Ricky, you're muted, buddy. I can't hear you. And it looks like we'd lost Dave. Dave, I'm not sure where he's at, but no, Ricky's still not. I got no audio on you, my friend. Um, yeah, refresh and come back, and let's see what's going on there. And then again, we did lose Dave here, but we're gonna try and get these guys back on here because this is a fascinating story. The Panama Independence. It's a really interesting story. There's a lot of moving pieces. Obviously, a lot of dates and times. It didn't all. We're accustomed to the United States independence that we know is July 4th, and we know all those different things there. But Panama was a lot of moving parts there. There he is.
Yeah, it
Oh
kicked
yes.
me
Okay. Good.
out.
Now we can hear you.
I don't know what's going on. I think it's just the time. In California right now, it's 7 o'clock, so it's busy, busy, busy internet time.
Yeah. No,
That booted me out.
It's been all acting all wonky and everything, anyways. But no, I think,
Well,
like
we
I said,
lost Dave,
yeah, if Dave will come back on the 21st, I think, what he's showing here, I didn't want to rush through it, right? And that's what we would end up doing is rushing through it because, we can really do this. Yeah, I saw you, Dave. No worries, buddy. I definitely want to revisit this, and maybe Ricky, you and I and Dave can spend some time putting together some content for this, and from the 21st, we
Oh
have something
yeah,
really cool to present.
The stuff that we've been researching is so interesting.
Yeah,
What's going
it's
on
fascinating
behind the scene? Like I said, under the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
Not above the history that we all know. We're reading, we're studying, we're trying to get our hands on as much info as we can on what was going on behind the scenes. And it's pretty
absolutely. There was a lot of moving parts. There was a lot that went on there, and as I've said before, and Dave certainly touched on it here with this story, that it wasn't, like I said before, this was not nearly as organic as they made it sound. There was a lot of plotting going on. There was a lot of maneuvering going on, and
a lot of fake news, like the Nicaraguan invasion.
Fake news didn't start recently.
Split up the forces. That was a great move.
No,
but
it really was. It was fascinating.
Yeah, Panama did have a merchant class that they just didn't have anything to do with Bogota. I mean, these guys wanted to be.
It was
like they were just pro.
It was a rebel province. You know what it was? It would be the equivalent of today, China and Taiwan.
Something right, because Taiwan is very industrious.
It's a rebel province.
It's a rebel province.
China says that's our province, whatever. But we're not getting into China now. But that's what Panama was a rebel province. The liberals got pushed basically out of Colombia into the province of Panama. And so when the war ended, Colombia turned around, even with the whole Victoriano Lorenzo incident. That was all part of that. That there was still a lot of animosity there. Okay, they had achieved peace. They signed a treaty, but as we've learned in history, treaties are pieces of paper people sign. They don't always guarantee peace, right?
Yeah, the stuff that we're reading, I have a feeling that Victoriano Lorenzo was offered up as he's got to go if you're going to get the deal.
You never know. People
I
may
have
be
a
willing to look the other way.
That's where it's going.
I could see that. I could
I
totally
can see that too. Yeah, he got sold out. Because he was basically the only general that the Panamanians had, fighting general. Everybody else was a businessman, smart lawyers and doctors and whatnot. And so,
but look how far back that involvement goes. When Dave mentioned here that Amador was working as a physician for the railroad in the 50s. I mean, this guy had not just his hands in Panama. He had his hands in the Canal Zone, okay, because it wasn't the Canal Zone back then, but he's working for the Panama Railroad there. So he is working in the Canal Zone before it was even a Canal Zone. But, there's that connection to it that he certainly wasn't going to let go. And it made sense for this guy then to maybe be a part of this when the United States wants to come in, because I'm sure that in Roosevelt's administration, there was talk and said, listen, what are our contingencies? We got Nicaragua here, but if we got Panama, we might have a plan B with Panama. Okay, we got these guys here, and this guy Amador, this, that, and the other. There's already that conversation going on. I can't believe that it didn't. That exchange hadn't already happened. And maybe they looked at this guy and said, hey, he's got a loyalty to that area. This guy might be great to prop up and put him in there. And
well, another thing that before my microphone went out, Amador Guerrero didn't just go to the United States to talk to the government. He went to Wall Street to talk to them as well.
Again, the most valuable commodity in the world prior to that was the Panama Railroad. And then look at what the shares of stock were going for the French Canal Company at one point. So definitely any talk of Panama Canal involved finances and a lot of money.
Right. And the two countries, the two biggest donors to the Panamanian cause were Costa Rica and Ecuador.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Costa Ricans have been our brothers ever from way back then,
The things that we know or think we know, and what we've actually come to learn.
Great story. And by the way, we got to get going here. But by the way, this Panamanian story. It's becoming so popular now. You see a lot of podcasts and people talking about this now.
Yeah.
Where before it was, whatever we were told by, the politicians, basically.
Right.
But anyways, Willie, what a great show, man.
It was, a lot of hours. Some mishaps here and there, obviously it wasn't a perfect recording, but and I'm going to get back on Tech Support with you guys, find out what's going on there. I think it is, again, my computer, but
like we always say, running a live show is not easy. It's not like piece of cake. It's complicated as heck,
but it's a blast. We love doing it.
We love
learning. We love having you guys on to chime in as usual and saying hello and give us your insight and your great questions and whatnot. So but anyhow, guys, great show. Next week, tentatively, we're still waiting to confirm it, but we're ready for a Panama Canal report. So we're going to hopefully have Captain Andrew Eftimitis on and talk some Panama Canal, what's going on there. A lot of great news with the ports and everything there. So that should be really interesting. And then the following week, like I said, we had a cancellation. So we're going to have Dave come and join us, and we're going to go through that timeline, that hour by hour, minute by minute, and really learn what that history is all about. And then towards the end of the month, of course, we have our end of the month recap show and our kind of Thanksgiving. We're working on some fun things there. So
and we got Henry back next month.
Yes, and get HB. Absolutely, HB is going to join us for some Canal Zone Dictionary. So listen, guys, thank you so much. Appreciate your patience. Have a great weekend. And Ricky, get us out of here, man.
There's my Chiva. Right on, guys. Thank you so much, guys. Really, from the bottom of our hearts every week. We love you very much. We'll see you next week with another great show.
Take care, guys. Cheers.
Take care.